A scandal of the century. DiCarlo, the young head of the Tease family, the empire's greatest family, is rumored to be marrying Evangeline, the only daughter of the extremely wealthy Count O'Hara family, causing a stir among the people of the empire. People read the information on the news and could not stop talking. Oh my God, this is really good news. The aristocracy intermarries to consolidate their position, and finally the two families, this is the most perfect marriage in the world. But in reality, Eva said with a sad face, let us call off the engagement. She said it directly to DiCarlo Tease, making him stunned. What, because Evangeline cancelled the engagement before the wedding ceremony? Flashback to a few months ago, Tease Duke's residence. Eva gently pulled up her dress, thinking about it. DiCarlo Tease coldly asked her, what is the schedule for today? Eva immediately answered him, look at the remaining documents during the day. There is a party in the afternoon, so I have to greet everyone. He immediately turned back and said to Eva without any emotion, another banquet, troublesome, from now on, you can attend the banquet yourself without me, the head of the Tease Duke family. DiCarlo von Tease. Hearing him say that, a sad expression flashed across her face. But immediately she tried to smile and gently said, yes, Duke, please take care of your own business. Eva sadly pondered, today's banquet is to celebrate my birthday. I hope he can attend this event. But she did not say that and only asked him gently, should I tie your tie for you? DiCarlo Tease coldly refused, no, I will do it myself. Eva continued to think sadly, just because of my birthday, it is wasting the time of Duke Tease, the busiest person in the empire. DiCarlo Tease's cold gaze at her made Eva have to bury her thoughts in her heart. It is not okay, is it? She sat quietly and watched him leave. More than anything, we are just a political marriage, there is no love. At this time, Eva was alone in the room. She tried to say out loud, please come back after you leave, but received no response. She pondered while ringing the bell and shaking it gently, too bad. But do not be sad, if I am the Duchess of the Tease family, I naturally have to be patient. The servant immediately came in and bowed politely. You called? Eva said, bring me food and tea, and also contraceptive pills. Tonight a grand party is held. Everything in the room is luxurious and magnificent. The nobles are all dressed very solemnly and beautifully. Everyone keeps saying, oh my God, happy birthday, Miss Chara. Eva lowered her head slightly and politely replied, thank you for coming here despite your busy schedule, Countess. She also bowed happily and said, what are you saying? Miss, with our relationship, of course I have to come. But then the Countess immediately approached and tightly grabbed Eva's hand and praised excitedly. And the banquet location is so beautiful, as expected of Mrs. Birthday Banquet. Eva happily smiled gently and replied to her, soon it will be the anniversary of the death of the Tease Duchess, so I organized a simple party. Thank you for your concern. The only daughter of the O'Hara Count family, Evangeline O'Hara. I did not prepare much, but please enjoy the banquet, madam. Unexpectedly, there were also people who came not to congratulate but to mock and cause trouble. Those girls kept mocking Eva. Everyone said, the kind of person who is about to enter the Tease family is different, but I do not see Duke Tease today. He did not participate either. It must be because he is busy. One of them held a glass of wine and spoke without any regard. Even so, this is the birthday banquet of his fiancée. Should not he be present on a day like this? As expected, it is a marriage for money, right? She still did not stop and became even more enthusiastic. Now I will say it, but if Count O'Hara had not discovered the mine, it would have been easy to get this marriage. Someone immediately stopped her. Miss, you are too drunk. She still did not stop. Did I say anything wrong? But unexpectedly a voice rang out, no, you are very right. The girl who was still outspoken a moment ago immediately fell silent in fear. Eva was standing right next to them. The girl flinched and shouted loudly, Miss Evangeline. The others also broke out in a cold sweat and did not dare to say anything more. But Eva did not hold it against them for speaking badly and simply thanked them for attending the party. She smiled gently and kindly and advised them to keep quiet. Although the words seemed simple, they made the group of young ladies turn pale with fear and not dare to say a word. They no longer had that smug look and became more shy and modest in front of Eva. At this time, as if someone was looking for her, Eva quickly turned around and looked. The servant brought a letter to Eva. It seemed to be a letter from the Count, which also helped her feel somewhat comforted on her birthday. Eva tore open the letter, looking forward to what was inside. What will it be this time? The world's most precious Arabelle diamond, perhaps. Maybe it is a certificate of ownership of an island or the papers of a vacation mansion. But holding the paper in her hand, Eva froze. She seemed very shocked and stood still for a long time. Eva was stunned reading that letter. What does this mean? Father is missing. She trembled. She remembered her father's image. His loving words for her. Father's lovely princess, I will give you everything in the world. The freest soul in the Velish Empire, Count O'Hara, my father, the head of the largest O'Hara troop in the empire. Eva's father did not hesitate to travel everywhere across the ocean. and personally traveled throughout the country to communicate. This time too, my father is going far away, to exploit the newly discovered mine. However, the troop ship returning here sank without a trace. Even my father's fate is unknown. Eva held the letter tightly in her hand. She tried hard not to show any emotion and had to quickly find a way. She thought to herself and reassured herself, calm down. Confirm the truth first, then immediately ordered the servant. Can you call Philip from the O'Hara troop to help me? She still smiled brightly and kindly as if nothing had happened, immediately. At this time the man put down his quill and said, "We will continue later." It was Dicarno Tees who was discussing work. The servant standing next to him asked, "Should I get more tea?" But he just shook his head, no need. Unexpectedly, Philin Sir Melton immediately sarcastically said to Dicarno Tees, "What time is it now? Is not Tees overdoing it?" Both the servant and Dicarno Tees were surprised and turned to look at him. Naval Commander Philin, the eldest son of the Sir Melton Count family, Philin Sir Melton. He continued, "You skipped the birthday banquet of the person who will become your wife and just worked. Are not you too much in love with your job?" Hearing this, Dicarno Tees was a little startled. What? Seeing Tees' reaction like that, Philin deliberately approached and joked, What is that reaction? Do not you know?" Dicarno Tees frowned and was a little annoyed. He could only say, "Be quiet, my head hurts." Philin Sir Melton still deliberately taunted Dicarno Tees. He recounted, in the rumors circulating, "People said you were so fascinated by Miss O'Hara that you could not go out. But they were all lies, right?" At this time Dicarno Tees began to feel uncomfortable and glanced at Philin Sir Melton. "I told you to be quiet." Unexpectedly, at this moment someone came to interrupt their conversation and called out loudly, "Duke Tees." They both turned their heads to look. It was Eva. She rushed to find him. Dicarno Tees was extremely surprised. "Evangeline," Eva said urgently, "can we talk for a moment?" Dicarno Tees immediately pushed the two of them out right away. Even though they were a little unwilling, "Everyone get out, just a moment." He approached her and asked, "What is wrong? You came here, are not you busy with your birthday banquet?" But Eva had no mind for that party anymore. "That is not important now. I have something to say." But Dicarno Tees coldly refused her. "I am a little busy now, if you come back after the meeting ends." Hearing that, her face turned sad. "I do not know when I can come back." Eva still tried to say to him, "I know you won't be able to come home for a few days because the budget meeting will be held at the beginning of the month, so just talk to me for a bit." Dicarno Tees still did not understand the seriousness of the problem and still urged Eva, "We will talk after the meeting ends. You follow Michael to the next room for a moment." "I can't stand it anymore." Eva had to say it straight. "The O'Hara family has gone bankrupt." Dicarno Tees was stunned hearing that. What? Eva then recounted the situation to Dicarno Tees. "All the troops' ships sank, and father is also missing." She pleaded, "Do you want to hear me now?" Unexpectedly, a family that was at the peak of fame and fortune and respected by thousands collapsed in just one night. The O'Hara family went bankrupt. Dicarno Tees also did not expect this. What? Eva was trying to suppress the pain inside so she could find a way to save the situation. She wanted to meet and talk to Dicarno Tees. "All the troop ships sank, and father is also missing." After hearing briefly about the situation that Eva said, Dicarno Tees was silent. "Do you want to hear me now?" Hearing the whole incident that Eva recounted in the letter. But unexpectedly Dicarno Tees' attitude did not waver or worry in the slightest. He only asked again. "The O'Hara Trade Union's ship sank in the Rimmon Sea." Eva seemed to collapse and be disappointed, even though this was just a political marriage. His eyes were colder than a stranger. "However, if I want to search for and take care of my father, this is not the time for me to keep my pride." But she still tried hard. "Yes." At this time, Eva earnestly begged him, "I need your help." She hoped that her fiancé could help her at this time because he was the only one she could ask for. "Can you immediately gather soldiers and search the Rimmon Sea?" Dicarno Tees was silent and did not say anything. Unexpectedly, Dicarno Tees only said one sentence to her, "Go home," making her stunned. Not being able to believe what she had just heard, Eva hesitated. "What, Duke?" Dicarno Tees still coldly said to her, "You suddenly came to the royal palace. At this time there must be people gossiping. If things become complicated, it won't be easy for me to arrange." Eva was absent-minded. "I am talking about my father is still missing. The situation is very urgent." Dicarno Tees frowned coldly and said to Eva, "I told you to go home." Eva was extremely confused. She could not believe that Dicarno Tees would behave like this with her when he knew the situation like this. She was disappointed and thought to herself, "Father is in a life-threatening situation, but I have to stay in the house just because of other people's eyes." Eva immediately stepped back and made a decision. "If you do not help, I will do it myself." Dicarno Tees raised his hand and grabbed Eva. He still just coldly instructed, "Do not let yourself be shaken and wait silently." He grabbed her clothes and bowed slightly and whispered, That is what you, the person who will become the next Duchess, should do. She immediately left when she heard him say coldly, I will let you know as soon as there is news. Eva could not be silent at this time. Her heart was extremely confused. Father, the only thing I can do is really just go back and keep my position. She sadly went to the flower garden at this time so she could soothe her mood a little. But those thoughts still followed her and could not be stopped. I have been waiting at home for DiCarlo for one day. When will I know about my father's news? Eva was afraid and thought about the worst situation that could happen. Suppose if something happened to father, what should I do? She gently held a blue rose and immediately recalled. A gentle voice rang out, Evangeline, it is very beautiful, is not it? It was when she and her mother were admiring flowers in this garden. Her mother said, this blue rose comes from the continent across the sea. I especially love this flower. It reminds me of the time I traveled with my father. She affectionately looked at Eva and asked, do you like it? Eva's mother told her, this garden will soon be yours. She could not forget that happy day. She knew for sure that, in this duke's residence, the only person who loved me was the late Duchess. Eva sadly thought to herself, if she were still alive, would she be able to persuade the duke? Suddenly a white dog rushed towards her and barked loudly. Woof, woof, woof. It was Eva's little friend, Rex, the duke's lion dog, Rex. It wagged its tail and happily looked at her. Feeling a little better when she saw Rex, Eva was able to laugh and pet Rex. Did you come to comfort me? Thank you, I will regain my spirits. Then suddenly someone was coming and approached her. So Eva turned her head to look. The footsteps of a man were approaching. It was DiCarlo Tease. He also appeared at this time and came to see her. Are you here, Evangeline? Eva gently welcomed him. You are back. She immediately asked him, is there any news about father? DiCarlo Tease lowered his head and hesitated. There is still no confirmed news. Eva was extremely disappointed and frustrated. Is that so? She pursed her lips and tried to reassure herself, because she just received the news. It is natural that there is no information, but Eva still could not help but say to DiCarlo Tease, I feel uneasy, I can't stand it anymore. I want to try to get close to the scene of the accident. Maybe I can find traces of something. Maybe I can find traces of something that drifted away. But before she could finish her sentence, DiCarlo Tease hurriedly and bluntly refused. Do not do anything stupid. Eva's eyes froze. DiCarlo Tease coldly did not allow Eva to act on her emotions. He bluntly said, you can't do anything by going there. Just cause more chaos. Eva could not bear it and felt frustrated. So you are telling me to just stand and watch? All the ships have sunk, not as a daughter but also as the successor. I have to know the situation. She could not help but worry about her father. The childhood images beside her father were still very clear in her mind. And now she did not even know if he was alive or dead. My father is my family, the only relative I have left. But after hearing her say that, DiCarlo Tease still calmly said to her, it has not been confirmed about his death. But suppose he dies, you also have to think about more important things. He explained everything to Eva. In difficult situations, the head of the trade union or the assets of the trade union, just as soon as one side is shaken, you lose everything. If you become the subject of discussion, not only Count, but the O'Hara trade union will also come to an end. Suppose the Count is still alive, everything will collapse and nothing will be left. Eva slumped down. Could not she do anything to save the situation? DiCarlo Tease simply reassured her, so, just stay and wait. How did it become like this? She could not help but think, even though from the beginning it was just a relationship where each side played their role, but the father of the person who will become his wife is missing. Eva unwillingly said to him, you do not waver at all. She struggled to express all her emotions and said to DiCarlo Tease, you are truly a terrifying person. DiCarlo Tease frowned in confusion and stared at her. Then he left her there and turned around and left and only said coldly, if you know, then do as I say. Eva clenched her hands and could not bear it anymore, repeating the word wait without doing anything. At this time she was no longer obedient and tried to endure it. Eva immediately changed. You want me to obey obediently? Eva acted on her own. That is right, I will sneak out and find out the situation, but there is one truth that Evangeline does not know. Half a day ago, late at night, the clock was ringing incessantly. DiCarlo Tease slammed the quill down on the table. DiCarlo Tease was exuding killing intent. His voice was cold. The final documents will be sent in 2 days. Everyone sitting around was pale with fear, trembling and answering, yes sir, dismiss. Philin Sir Melton was sweating and hesitantly held the paper and approached him and thought to himself, after meeting Miss O'Hara. His mood gradually became gloomy. I still have to receive the budget for the military area, but I can't say it. DiCarlo Tease's face was gloomy and frowning. His gaze was terrifying as he sat there. Philin Sir Melton mustered up the courage and stammered, that Duke, my words have been very careful so. He did not let Philin Sir Melton speak and coldly interrupted, do not say it. But suddenly he changed his tone and said, "Ah, that is right, Philin." Philin Ser Melton was surprised. Dicarno Tees immediately asked for help. "Please send soldiers to the Rimmon Sea." Hearing that, Philin Ser Melton was surprised and panicked. What did you say? Rimmon is the territory of Calais. He could not understand why Dicarno Tees made such a risky decision. "You told me to send troops to a country that has been at war with us." Philin Ser Melton was extremely doubtful. What is the problem if the two countries are on a ceasefire? What? But Dicarno Tees immediately picked up the pen and signed the paper for him. And then Dicarno Tees handed it to Philin Ser Melton and casually said, "Here, is this much travel expenses enough?" A few days later, the O'Hara Trade Union. Eva stood and watched everyone here being extremely rushed and busy. She wondered confusedly, "I rushed here first, but what is this?" She was shocked and did not understand what was happening. The trade union is still intact. Last time Philip said all the assets were flooded and nothing was left. She was a little surprised and worried. Why is the trade union still safe? Suddenly someone called her, "Young head." She recognized that person and immediately called, "Philip, the manager of the O'Hara Trade Union." He looked at her with sad eyes. He approached and gently asked her, "What is wrong? You came here." Eva tried to remain calm and said, "What else? My father is not here, of course I have to come." I understand the young head's mood, but... His expression kept being anxious and worried. Hesitantly said to her, "Even so, you can't come here." The more he was like that, the more Eva became suspicious and could not bear it and urgently asked him, Why can't I come, Philip?" His face was absent-minded and did not dare to speak. Eva became even more collapsed and worried. Why did not he answer? It is like he is hiding a secret. At this time, she seemed shocked and realized, thinking about it, the rumor that her father had an accident has not been spread yet. Could it be Dicarno Tees did something? Dicarno's influence has reached the trade union. That man, why would he do that to me? Because even if I am a perfect imposter who lost the title of great benefactor, I am still useful to him. But Eva was extremely determined. Her eyes were firm and said to Philip, "I can't let him do whatever he wants. Philip, my father's fate is unknown right now." She resolutely said, "If the current owner of the O'Hara Trade Union is me, tell me the truth." Philip was startled and stammered, That." Suddenly a voice from behind rang out calling Eva, "Duchess." She turned her head to look. It was a woman dressed extremely solemnly, holding a fan to cover her mouth, Baroness Levon. She approached and shook hands intimately with Eva, a distant relative of the Tees Duke family, Linda Levon. She asked with concern, "I was very worried because last time I saw your face did not look good, but seeing you safely out like this, that is a relief." Eva looked at her with great suspicion. What is this woman doing at the trade union? Is she here to receive gems today? She remembered 2 years ago, since Dicarno and I had an engagement, father started giving away things from the trade union for free to all those related to the Duke family. Those who had received items once often came to the trade union to receive items, and this woman was one of them. I was very unhappy with their brazenness. On days like that, my father would just gently coax me. He would always stroke my head and coax me when something happened that made Eva sad. She was fondly cared for by her father and could not stop missing him. For my princess, father does not regret anything, as long as my daughter lives comfortably. This small amount of money is nothing. She lowered her face sadly. At that time I felt like an idiot, but now I understand. Father loved me so much that he gave away everything he had. The woman looked at her like that and could not help but wonder. "Duchess, your expression is also very dark today. I am really worried about you. Would you like to have a cup of hot tea with us? What do you say?" She said gently and kindly to Eva, "We are also one family." She smiled and tried to go for a cup of tea with her, but Eva was always cautious and suspicious of her purpose. It probably would not hurt to spend some time together. What is there to worry about? She is planning to take advantage of my weakness to get something. Eva looked at her words and gestures of intimacy and could not help but be suspicious, even though she is a relative. But in terms of blood, she is no different from a stranger. She does not hesitate to narrow the gap to get expensive items. Then Eva did not hesitate to raise her hand and gently remove her hand. From the beginning, to save face for father and Duke Tees, I tried to be patient. At this time, Eva did not want to become weak and always be cautious about everything. She bluntly refused her. "But now I do not need to anymore, sorry Baroness. I have something urgent today, excuse me." She simply said, "Please take your time to look around." She did not expect that she would be rejected. She called out with a displeased expression, "But Duchess." The people around saw the incident like that and could not help but talk and mock her. "Oh my God, I also heard that the Baroness is very close to Miss O'Hara." She was extremely embarrassed and did not dare to raise her head when she heard those words. "It seems the Baroness misunderstood, because I heard that you were taking everyone to see high-end gems. So I followed." But not being able to stop, she still tried to call and say to Eva, Miss O'Hara, actually I have something to say to you privately. Eva did not care at all and coldly refused. Sorry, later, madam. She did not have a single mood left to care about other things. She was already tired enough. I do not want to suffer more because of the people from this family. She struggled to explain. I am going to get some fresh air and come back. She did not give up at all and quickly grabbed Eva's shoulder and held her back. Miss O'Hara. She kept calling her persistently. Miss, I am calling you. Not being able to endure any longer, Eva immediately turned around and angrily shouted loudly. Baroness, please. Her expression was extremely bewildered. She shouted loudly, causing the people there to be startled and afraid. Please stop, leave me alone. Philip also could not believe it, but maybe he understood her mood right now. His face was extremely sad. Young head. But then his eyes froze. Young head. Unexpectedly, a large woman appeared and rushed to curse incessantly and beat her. You bitch. The woman cried and cursed. Demon, if you are going to die, your father should go and die alone. But she did not say a word but just looked at her without anger or resistance. My son, save my son, save my son. At this time, the guards ran to her and shouted loudly. Quickly protect Miss O'Hara. The woman who was being held tightly still struggled. Philip hurriedly ran to Eva, who was still crouching on the floor. Why, young head, are you all right? The woman was frantically unable to keep her composure and shouted. While you were living happily, my son became food for the fish. Philip carefully examined the situation for Eva and was extremely worried. The wound on your face. Eva looked up, her eyes were sad, confused, and panicked as she looked at the woman. Catch her, quickly hold her back. Was that woman a relative of a sailor on the ship? And as soon as I was attacked, the Tees Knights jumped out as if they had been waiting from the beginning. They had been following me and were waiting. Eva's eyes were full of pensive confusion before everything that suddenly happened. I sneaked out to go to the trade union. And this man had predicted it. Finally, my guess was correct. Eva sat curled up in her chair, her eyes filled with sadness. She sat quietly and listened to Decarno Tees say, I told you, stay in the mansion and wait. He was not angry or complained at all, but still had that serious expression and turned around and asked her, so, after running out to confirm, do you feel relieved? Eva still lowered her head and gently answered, as the young head, I am just confirming the things that I should know. I can't be imprisoned here forever without a clear time limit. Decarno Tees then said to her, live quietly until the day of our wedding ceremony. Wedding. Hearing that, Eva's eyes froze. In this situation, she clenched her hands and was determined to say it. Eva looked straight at him and said, the O'Hara family has collapsed. My father has also died. I lost my only relative, and you are telling me to get married. She could not pretend to let everything go anymore. Decarno Tees looked at her and asked, only. Eva's painful and desperate eyes when she had to say that. Who else is there? I do not even remember the face of my mother who divorced my father, and I do not have any siblings. And the late countess, who showed affection for me at this duke's mansion, is also gone now. Decarno Tees suddenly fell silent and could not say anything more. He just stared at her. Eva was extremely worried when she saw that. She frowned and wondered, what is wrong? Why are you suddenly silent like that? Decarno Tees raised his hand straight towards her. He immediately pressed her down on the chair. Eva panicked. Duke. She looked at his always cold face with great fear. Suddenly, what is wrong? But Decarno Tees just looked at her silently. She gently, Duke. At this time Decarno Tees then asked, your face, why did it become like this? She avoided and only said simply, it is just a slight scratch. Decarno Tees felt confused and asked her, why did not you say you were injured? She did not answer and just stared at him. Decarno Tees felt that Eva might want to calm down, so he let go of her hand and immediately reminded the servant, all right, Michael. He immediately stepped in. Yes, Duke. Decarno Tees ordered, from now on, restrict access to the west side. Eva was stunned when she heard that. The servant was also startled when he heard that and stammered, but according to tradition, that is the Duchess's property. Decarno Tees was still determined, without my permission. He said coldly, no one can enter or leave. Eva was absent-minded. She was extremely sad as expected. He is trying to control me again. Does this man only see me as an object? At this time they both looked at each other, but each had their own thoughts. He then asked her, do you have anything else to say now? She replied coldly, no. Decarno Tees also felt a little embarrassed and looked at her. Evangeline. Eva left in frustration. I will go first. She quickly left without paying attention to him. The servant immediately bowed his head. I am sorry, Duke, today's events were unexpected. Decarno Tees angrily questioned, who? His face was extremely angry as he said coldly, who injured my woman's face? My woman, the Duchess. The servant was afraid and stammered, I heard it was a relative of the sailor, But if you punish that woman, the public will gossip and it won't be good for your reputation. He fearfully advised Dicarno Tease, so, can you let it go this time? But Dicarno Tease felt that something was wrong and immediately ordered, arrest those who leaked the information. Normally it takes 1 month for the news about the accident to be transmitted here. He felt very strange that someone was leaking information, but the family of an ordinary sailor knew that information in advance. Evangeline, the heir to the trade union, only received the bad news through a letter a few days ago. It is really unreasonable. His eyes were pensive and contemplative. There can only be one of two things: someone survived and spread the news, and immediately said, or someone under me leaked the information. And it was not me, Duke, please believe me. Dicarno Tease crossed his arms and urgently ordered, find out for me who spread the rumor that the Count's ship sank. The news was published in the newspaper today. The next day, Rourke Post, Miss O'Hara caused a commotion at the trade union. Speculation on the death of Count O'Hara. Bad news about the O'Hara family has spread throughout the empire. The newspapers were scattered on the table. Eva looked at them, but at this time she calmly sighed. The news spread quickly. After Dicarno blocked the entrance and exit on the west side of the mansion, I moved to live in the annex building. She strolled through the quiet hallway. Eva walked alone and pondered. I thought I would feel frustrated if I could not go out. Living quietly alone like this is not bad. Eva still felt something, but occasionally, why does my chest hurt like this? Because the familiar space has now become strange. The feeling of being a helpless existence. Suddenly Eva's face turned pale and she stared blankly ahead. Over there, that woman appeared. It is like she was locked up and the eyes outside were scrutinizing and cursing her. I told you, I said she was in the West Annex building. Give me back my son, you have to take responsibility. Those people kept scolding, shouting at her, come out, hiding in there is like a coward. Things have turned out like this and you can still sleep there, my poor son. Do you know how much I invested? Eva trembled and was afraid. Open the door, why are they here? A stern voice rang out, stop. They immediately fell silent and did not dare to speak. It was Dicarno Tease. He approached and asked, what is all the commotion about? A man explained slowly, you said commotion, we are just here to receive legitimate compensation. Dicarno Tease suspiciously asked, if you have something, you should enter through the main gate. Why did you come to the annex building? They tried to defend themselves but sir, Dicarno Tease said loudly, I do not want to hear excuses. He turned around angrily and threatened to resolve this properly. I will call a lawyer. Those people did not dare to speak and just bowed their heads silently. Thank you, Duke. Dicarno Tease went to Eva and was worried. Why did you come out? Eva was startled and panicked and immediately said, I am sorry, I will go back inside. Dicarno Tease immediately put his arm around her. He looked at her sadly in front of him and understood what happened. But Eva bit her lip and was uneasy and confused. Why does not he say anything? The commotion happening in front of the Duke's mansion will make him feel ashamed. Is it because there are many people watching? The two walked together in the beautiful hallway, but their emotions were not like that at all. Eva's emotions at this time were mixed. She could not understand. The attitude of not asking for an apology, when the honor of the Duke's family was tarnished, was strange to him. His concern. Back in the room, Eva quietly went inside. In her heart, she could not stop thinking, it can't possibly be out of kindness. She turned her head to look at him, but the door immediately closed and Dicarno Tease quickly left. That is right, no way. But at this time, Dicarno Tease was talking to Count Rian. He asked worriedly, I heard the creditors dragged themselves in front of the Tease Duke's mansion, looking outside. I was so surprised that I was stunned, it was so noisy. The rumors have spread too quickly. Dicarno Tease looked at him and replied coldly, you knew about it but did not do anything. Count Rian was stunned and stammered evasively. That is not important now, the late Duke's cousin Count Rian. The important thing is that the Duchess is struggling with debt, is not she? Unexpectedly, he was advising Dicarno Tease about this marriage. What Duchess? Do you really want to marry her? But he replied very calmly. He kept mocking and despising them. When you received and used the items sent from the O'Hara family, you praised them as good, but now that the Count's assets have disappeared, you immediately turn your backs. Dicarno Tease looked at them and felt disgusted. Those who are said to be the branch family of Tease are so disappointing, he said casually. Is not that obvious? I do not care what they say. The person who deserves to become the Duchess is none other than Evangeline. Dicarno Tease was still determined and did not waver at all. Is not that obvious? Count Rian was stunned and could not understand. What are you talking about? He became extremely angry and confronted. And no, it is unacceptable. He immediately sarcastically said, could it be, you are in love with that woman? Everyone knows that this is a marriage that causes damage to the Duke's family. For the sake of the family, why do not you call off the engagement? Dicarno Tease looked at the people in front of him and could guess all their intentions. On the surface they pretended to be loyal to the Duke's family. Everyone is eyeing the position of leader that they crave. Inside they are calculating. Dicarno Tease knew what they were planning, to replace her with someone who would bring them benefits. The door was immediately opened. It was Eva. She secretly peeked inside and monitored the situation. The branch family of the Tease family has come. Maybe it is because of the matter of calling off the engagement with me. Eva lowered her head sadly and pondered, if it is not love, then what other reason is there for you to be so stubborn? Love Dicarno with me. But unexpectedly he said, I will still marry her. Dicarno Tease declared very seriously, because there is no woman more convenient than Evangeline. Eva was shocked hearing that outside. What woman is more convenient? Those people smiled awkwardly. If it is for this reason, you can find someone more suitable. The royal family will also care because this is a matter of the Tease Duke family. That is right, as Count Rian said. Dicarno Tease was uncomfortable and made an excuse to chase them away. I hate trouble, talking here is enough. At this time, Dicarno Tease was alone drinking wine standing on the balcony and pondered and recalled. The first time I met Dicarno was at the hunting banquet. Eva shyly bowed to Dicarno Tease. Duke Tease. She hesitantly said to him, I am very happy to meet you. I am Evangeline O'Hara. Dicarno Tease politely replied to her, I am very happy to meet you, Miss O'Hara. With that same cold expression he talked to Eva, I have heard a lot about Count O'Hara. In other people's eyes, this is just a normal and natural meeting, but it is almost like a meeting that was arranged by the two families. Eva also remembered the time they met. Although my father did not care about hunting, he used money to get a membership card and took me to the banquet. In her eyes, he was always surrounded by people, and Dicarno reluctantly attended the banquet because of his mother's urging. Eva was escorted by her father to that party. And at this time the two began to meet, their eyes met. In that way we got to know each other. Gradually we talked. Until I entered the Tease Duke family. He has never disappointed me, not even once. Although he was always cold, Dicarno Tease always cared about her. Is it because of that reason? At first I believed that the two could share their feelings with each other. But then I realized that he had no feelings for me. I immediately gave up my dream. Even so, we were still engaged. I thought there must be another reason why he chose me. But after hearing those words he had just said, because there is no woman more convenient than Evangeline. And that reason is because I am convenient. At this time, Eva's mind sank. She disappointedly dragged herself back to the room. That trivial reason. Originally this marriage was a meeting between money and power. Eva completely collapsed. She seemed to have no hope of feelings from him. So it was not surprising. She struggled to clench her hands and pondered, even so, the family has gone bankrupt but he still wants to keep me by his side. I thought the concern from him was sincere. I thought he recognized the value in me. Evangeline O'Hara, as a human being. But it was all an illusion. She gently took off her wedding ring. Then she put the ring on the table. It is so pathetic. Eva desperately looked at herself in the mirror on the wall and lamented. A product that loses its value. What right does it have to expect anything? At this time, in Dicarno Tease's study. He was still sitting there. Perhaps he did not know that Eva had heard what he said. Dicarno Tease was very focused on working. He still heard Count Rian's words echoing in his ear saying to him, could it be, you are in love with that woman? Dicarno Tease put down his pen and laughed. He immediately lay on the chair and closed his eyes and pondered, love, ridiculous as I said, Evangeline O'Hara. Dicarno Tease thought about her, very convenient. Eva's image appeared in his mind. She is elegant, rational, and good at hiding her emotions. In Dicarno Tease's eyes, she is no less perfect than anyone. She treats everyone skillfully. Eva is not only a beautiful and wealthy young lady, but Eva is also very talented because she has in-depth knowledge. She always creates comfort when communicating. She possesses all the qualities of a Tease Duchess. Eva is really beautiful and talented. Therefore, there is no more suitable marriage partner than Evangeline. Dicarno Tease opened his eyes and pondered and affirmed everything about Eva like that, that is right. He thought to himself, it is just a little hurt right now, she will soon stabilize. The servant immediately opened the door and stepped in. Is that so? You called for me, Duke, that is right. Dicarno Tease quickly signed some important documents and ordered the servant to do as he said. Auction this for me, Rodka Vineyard Plain, sales contract, Rodka Plain. Michael was stunned when he saw that. Selling that place will cause a great loss to the family. You can think of another place, but Dicarno Tease was determined, proceed as I said. The most fertile land in the country. In the past, many people have coveted this land. If it is auctioned, it will definitely sell for a very high price to pay off debts and still have some left over. Evangeline must completely become the Duchess, so, this is not worth much. A few days later, Belize royal palace. You act like you won't come back, that is strange. A noble woman sitting in the middle asked Count Rian, "What is the matter with you coming here?" Count Rian, he was very cautious in front of the woman and stammered, "Won't come back, you misunderstood. A very beautiful woman, and that is Princess Her Highness, the sister of the Emperor of the Belize Empire, Bologna von Varish." 3 days before Count Rian met the princess, Count Rian's mansion. The flower vase was smashed to pieces on the floor. Count Rian's voice rang out extremely angrily. "Damn it, arrogant brat." He gritted his teeth, his whole body trembling with anger that he could not bear. Does he think the Tease family is so powerful just because of the Tease family alone? The power that the Tease Duke family has now is thanks to the members in the Branch family who have joined forces to protect and maintain it. He kept cursing Dicarno Tease, but that brat does not know, and then acts complacent, thinking he is so great. Count Rian recounted that, moreover, he also rejected the woman that we connected. This is an opportunity for us to get our share of the benefits. Unexpectedly, Count Rian hated Eva so much. He did not agree with their marriage. "Evangeline, I do not like that woman. I think she is a naive woman because she is pampered by Count O'Hara." He remembered and could not help but feel disgusted with her. Although she has not become the Duchess, she acts exactly like the late Duchess, and looks at me in the same way that Dicarno often looks. Count Rian plopped down on the chair and decided that he could not let this happen. He immediately plotted, "No way, I have to deal with them in one go. That is right, if I pull in the royal family." He sinisterly calculated, even if it is Tease, he can't do anything. At the palace, well, Princess Bologna von Varish looked at Count Rian and asked, "What is the matter with you finding me? You are not just here to ask how I am doing, are you?" Count Rian immediately began to speak smoothly and reported, "What is the matter? I am just here to greet Princess Her Highness, because it has been a long time since I have seen you. As a member of Tease, of course I have to serve the princess, but I am sorry that I can't do that. The princess also knows, the Tease family has been very chaotic lately." The princess said calmly, "Oh my God, really?" She continued to ask Count Rian, "The rumor that the O'Hara family went bankrupt, is it true?" Unexpectedly, the princess seemed extremely shocked and worried. "I am worried that Duke Tease is not okay. It is also difficult for him to abandon Miss O'Hara because of the family's face." Count Rian saw the princess's expression like that and immediately pondered. Her attitude was very different when she mentioned Dicarno's matter. It seemed that everything was going smoothly as he predicted. He immediately pretended to be confused and stammered, "Actually, I am also worried." Unexpectedly, the princess cried and shed tears and lamented that, "Things have turned out like that. It would be better for the Duke to call off the engagement with that woman. But perhaps the Duke is trying to maintain the relationship because of everyone's eyes." Count Rian looked at her with a smug expression. "That is right. Princess Bologna von Varish is not as simple as that. Different from her cold appearance, the princess is a person with a hot temper. She must get what she wants." It seems that the princess was extremely fond of Dicarno Tease when she first met him. Dicarno von Tease. Her eyes were infatuated with Dicarno Tease. He was no exception. Not only chasing Duke Tease in every event he attended, the princess also cried and begged the emperor, her brother, to arrange a marriage with the Duke. The princess tried hard and hoped that she could marry Dicarno Tease and did not hesitate to pursue him. This is a famous story in the upper class. Unfortunately, the emperor had no intention of giving more power to the Duke, so he refused the request of his foolish sister. Even so, Bologna still coveted Dicarno. Therefore, the princess is the best pawn to exploit. Count Rian understood that and secretly calculated, "If I lightly incite the idea that she can still get what she wants, she will automatically deal with Evangeline." He pretended to say, "That is why, Princess Her Highness, what if we make Miss O'Hara call off the engagement herself?" She was very surprised when she heard that. "What?" But then she hesitantly inquired, "Is that woman easy to back down?" Looking at her clinging on like that, "I do not think she will give up easily." Count Rian smiled. "Certainly not easy. But is not she a woman with a very high sense of self-respect?" The two of them looked at each other and implicitly understood. Who knows, if we hurt her self-respect, she might leave in anger. Count Rian and the princess plotted to divide the two of them. The next afternoon, the princess's reception room. "I suddenly invited you. I am so sorry. I should have made an appointment in advance." "It is okay, Your Highness," Eva said to Princess Her Highness with a sad face. "Even so, it is lucky that Your Highness called me when the Duke was not around. Thanks to that, I was able to go out." The princess had a somewhat sympathetic expression, "So that is how it is," but in reality she kept inferring about Eva. "She is bragging about being protected by Duke Tease. Keep being complacent, it won't last long." Suddenly the princess changed the subject and deliberately talked about Eva's matter. "I heard the news about the O'Hara family. The Count had such an accident. You must be very sad." Not only did she fabricate things to tell Eva, even the body has not been found yet. Hearing this, Eva's whole body drooped. Her hands clenched tightly and struggled to keep her composure. Eva still had to try and answer the princess that, "Yes, we are still searching, thank you for your concern." The princess looked at her and was very curious. "What is wrong?" I thought she would be teary-eyed. "Why is not there any reaction at all?" She pondered for a moment and then pretended to be sympathetic and expressed to Eva. She immediately said that, "Actually, I have something to ask you. This time I am planning to organize a ball to celebrate the safe return of the Navy, but I am worried about Miss O'Hara's matter." Eva still calmly replied to the princess, "Will you be okay if I hold a celebration party? Of course, Your Highness." At this time, as if with an ominous intention, the princess deliberately said, "If you also intend to participate, then I have something I want to give you." She gestured towards the maid. The maid immediately carried a suitcase and approached. The princess then said to Eva, "Here, take it." A series of evening dresses were brought out and held up in front of Eva. Her eyes became extremely sad as she looked at the pile of dresses, but the princess still deliberately said, "I heard that you are in a difficult situation, so I thought maybe you would need help." Eva looked at them and thought, outdated dresses. Is she telling me to wear these? The princess continued to deliberately humiliate Eva. "Those are the dresses I used to wear. But this year I have new dresses already. Do not refuse me, we should help each other in times like this." She still pretended to smile happily and said friendly, "To save face for you, I won't tell anyone." Eva bowed her head. She did not say a word and just thought to herself, "It seems that Princess Her Highness wants to insult the person who will become the Duchess of the Tease family by wearing those old clothes again." The princess continued to attack Eva with those false words. "Miss O'Hara, if you misunderstood my intention then, why would I do that?" But different from the princess's thoughts, Eva calmly picked up the teacup and said gently, "Thank you for giving me these dresses. I will make use of them. Facing this childish provocation is just a waste of time." Eva not only calmly replied but also counterattacked and shattered the princess's evil intentions. "And following Her Highness's noble intention, I will also keep this a secret. But suppose if this matter comes to the ears of others, then it must be the work of Her Highness's maid. I hope she is a trustworthy person by your side, Your Highness." Eva always knew that she did not need to care too much about these small tricks of theirs at this time. "I have many more things to care about than Her Highness." At this time Eva immediately said sternly, "I think I can't stay any longer, I have to go." She quickly stood up and bowed to the princess and did not forget to pick up that suitcase and bow so. Eva held the dress and solemnly said goodbye. "Your Highness's thoughtful concern. I will engrave it in my heart." Suddenly she widened her eyes and stared straight into the princess's eyes for life. At this time, the princess and the maid's expressions froze. The princess was angry and unwilling. She shouted, "What the hell, why is not she proper at all?" Back at the mansion, Dicarno Tease immediately inquired about Eva. "It seems you went out while I was not around." Eva calmly replied to him, "How could I refuse Princess Her Highness's invitation?" Her face was extremely sad and soulless as she looked directly at him. Dicarno Tease put out the cigarette in his hand and sighed. "I see, one more thing, the coachman followed behind and waited for you outside the royal palace." The coachman stood waiting for Eva but did not see her come out, saying that you had disappeared. Dicarno Tease at this time frowned and asked Eva with some worry, "Where did you go?" The O'Hara family's store unexpectedly had reporters surrounding it. They took pictures and jostled, pushed and waited to get some valuable information. Eva immediately called Philip and immediately handed the suitcase from the princess to Mr. Philip. "Take it." He looked at them in surprise and confusion. "Young head, what are these?" Eva opened the suitcase. Inside were the princess's dresses she had worn. Mr. Philip did not expect that and asked, "Why did you suddenly bring dresses here?" She explained and tore off the gemstone on the dress immediately. "Too outdated, I can't wear it, but the gemstones attached here can be used." Mr. Philip watched her do that and was both surprised and worried and distressed. "Why, where did these come from? Young head, please wait. If you tear it directly like that, your hand will be hurt." She absent-mindedly said that, "It is made from the royal family, so the gemstones are not cheap either. I am sure they are quite expensive." Mr. Philip was heartbroken and could not bear it when he heard that, "Young head." But Eva continued to say, "Philip." She held up the pile of gemstones that she had torn off the outfit and said to Philip, "Please sell them and search for my father's whereabouts." But Mr. Philip immediately replied, "But the Duke is sending people to search around." Eva could not believe it and said coldly, "That man won't care about searching for my father." But when facing Dicarno Tease, Eva did not mention that, but simply replied, "I felt a little stuffy, so I went to get some fresh air. If I say I went to the trade union, I will have to talk about those dresses, and have to explain how I got them, that childish princess's malice if I can grasp it. Even if it is just a glimmer of hope, I am willing to accept it, but..." She secretly inferred that, if Dicarno knew, I was living a hard life to survive like this. She felt very uncomfortable with him, knowing that she was having a harder time than anyone else now. I would rather die. I am sorry for making you worry. Descartes was silent for a moment and looked at her and then continued to ask, Evangeline. He probably felt that something was wrong and asked her, the princess. Descartes hesitated a little. Did she insult you? That stubborn and arrogant princess, if she called Evangeline in the situation, certainly. It is not just for friendly chat. Could it be something so bad that she can't tell me? But the answer he received was no, nothing happened, which surprised him. Eva then continued. The princess invited me to the upcoming royal banquet only. He was a little doubtful, only that, but Eva still resolutely answered, yes, only that. She did not say anything more. That sad expression was still the same. Eva immediately turned around and left. She only said, if you do not have anything else, I will go back first. Seeing that, Descartes quickly got up. He approached Eva and tightly grabbed her hand. Eva was startled and panicked. Duke. Descartes said sternly to her, now I can see your expression. I do not like to use force, but... Eva frowned a little scared, but she still looked straight into Descartes' eyes. Looking at her at this time, Descartes thought to himself, if I can peel off your mask, I won't hesitate. She sighed and then turned her face away. Eva coldly said to him, tonight I can't. Descartes was stunned, a little confused. What? Eva lowered her head and continued, I am a little tired today, please let me know in advance next time. Descartes was uncomfortable. He frowned. You really think I kept you here for that? He remembered the times he wanted to be close to Eva. He never forced her, but always respected and gentle with her. If I want to sleep with you. Descartes thought to himself, I have asked for your opinion as always. It is really uncomfortable. At this time Eva covered her face with her hands. Her voice tired and collapsed and said to Descartes, I am sorry, but today I really... Descartes immediately changed the subject and told her, get ready for the princess's banquet. Eva looked at him in surprise. Descartes looked at Eva's face at this time. That is right, you have expressed your emotions. Now I can feel that you are alive. Participating in a normal social party is enough to attract everyone's attention. Descartes then thought, let alone this is a royal banquet where the nobles gather. For you it is a very difficult decision, so if you do not want to go to the banquet now you can. Eva nodded lightly and obediently answered, yes, I will prepare. Then Eva immediately snatched her hand away from him. Descartes was surprised immediately. What? She said seriously and coldly to him, I will go first. Descartes could only reluctantly nod in agreement with her. By the time Eva left, Descartes sighed in relief. He took out something from his body and looked at it and said, as expected. Descartes pondered his mood and said, completely empty. Early morning in the vast, magnificent mansion. Eva wore a beautiful and sparkling white dress. Before I knew it, it was already the day of the royal banquet. It is so stuffy. But Eva's mood at this time could not be calm. She bowed uncomfortably. Eva's chest felt like something heavy was pressing down. I feel so uncomfortable, but I can't run away. But Eva was still resilient. She clenched her hands and said to herself, you have to smile, Evangeline. There was a knock on the door outside. Eva immediately changed her mood and said, come in. Eva hurriedly put on makeup and quickly replied, I am almost done. Can you help me with the button on the back? A familiar voice rang out, this one. Eva was startled and turned around. Duke. E was surprised when he was already standing behind her. Descartes quickly grabbed her dress cord and casually urged, stand up straight. It is already late to leave. Eva flinched embarrassedly and stopped. Wait a minute. Descartes still calmly said, what is wrong? It is not like I am seeing it for the first time. Eva was very confused. Why is he suddenly here? Eva was very nervous. I have been trying to avoid him for a while. Why bother finding me while I am changing? Descartes gently said to Eva, can you tuck your hair back? Yes. He was very gentle and delicate. Descartes pulled up the zipper of the dress. Descartes gently stroked the white skin on her back. His hand rested on her shoulder. His eyes affectionate and captivated and said, it suits you very well. Eva only bowed her head calmly and replied, thank you. Descartes quickly turned around and went to get something. He immediately held out a sparkling diamond necklace and said to Eva, this necklace will suit you. A large diamond necklace that was crafted very meticulously and delicately, but Descartes still said gently, this is too flashy. Without that, everyone has already been staring at you. Then he approached her and called, Evangeline. Hearing that affectionate voice, Eva was a little startled. Descartes put the necklace on Eva's neck. His face was a little sad. He then said soothingly to Eva, that is what you have to experience once, so go there and make them unable to look at you anymore. He gently put the necklace around Eva's neck. Eva reached out and gently touched the necklace and thought with some agitation. Unexpectedly, this person would say the same words as my father. Decarno looked into her eyes full of thoughts and could not help but say, "If you have anything to say, say it." But Eva was still stubborn and pretended to be calm. "It is not like that," Decarno immediately comforted. "If you do not want to go, now we." But unexpectedly Eva turned around and resolutely said to Decarno, "No, I will go." Eva smiled gently and seemed to be prepared and confidently replied, "I am ready." At this time at the palace, this is the first time I have seen the princess's banquet have so many people attending. The invited guests had all arrived. They kept discussing as expected. Imitating the Duke family's banquet has not changed, actually. Is not there something more worth looking forward to than the banquet? That is right. Is it true that they will come to the banquet? At this time the servant immediately announced loudly, "Duke and his fiancée, Miss O'Hara, have arrived." Everyone in the room suddenly fell silent and did not make a sound and turned around and stared intently. A beautiful step appeared. It was Decarno and Eva very intimately. The two of them walking side by side were really a match made in heaven. Both still seemed very calm in front of the scrutinizing eyes of the people in front of them. Decarno and Eva walked in the crowd. They looked at Eva and gossiped about her. Miss O'Hara really came after going bankrupt. Is not this the first time she has participated in something like this? They scrutinized her from head to toe and discussed noisily. "Look at that necklace, oh my God, even in the midst of chaos she is still so luxurious." The two of them got closer to the center of the party. Decarno tilted his head slightly towards Eva. They looked and admired. It seems that the feelings between the two of them are very good. He gently called her Evangeline. When they were still at the mansion, Decarno held Eva tightly and comforted her. "No matter what anyone says, you are still a family member." He held her waist tightly. Decarno brought his face very close to Eva's and instructed her. "So, do not forget your role." But Eva was not happy at all. She thought that, her voice was sharp. "I do not know what made him angry." Eva looked up at him and only coldly replied, "You do not need to worry." Eva said, "I will do everything to prevent you from suffering any more damage." Decarno looked at her and could not help but feel a little worried. Then she turned to those dukes over there and deliberately pushed him away. "You go, it seems they are waiting for you, Duke." Immediately Decarno turned around and left. At this time when he was not around, those people started to whisper and ridicule Eva. "Heavens, look at her arrogant look with her head held high. I was expecting her to dress simply to repent. It seems that the position of Duchess is really good. Just stand there and not care about anyone." They looked down on her, laughing and mocking non-stop. "What can you do? Even if you do not do anything, Duke will solve the debt for her anyway." People also said that he sold the Rodka planes for his fiancée. Hearing that, Eva immediately became a little agitated. She was startled. They continued to discuss. "I can't believe it. Is not that the land of the Duke family since its founding, just because of bringing an unsuitable person into the house? It is now so chaotic." At this time Eva seemed to gradually lose her composure. She bit her teeth and was confused. What are they talking about? Eva immediately felt that something was wrong. She thought to herself, rumors from the upper class are usually not very accurate, but they mentioned a specific place. Eva looked towards a woman and recognized her. That woman is the wife of the count who often participates in auctions. She looked at her discussing and thought to herself, so the possibility of lying is very low. She inadvertently saw Eva looking in this direction and immediately mocked her. "Really, what is it? Is Miss here eavesdropping on us talking?" She and they deliberately spoke without restraint to embarrass Eva. "So what if we heard? It is not like we are making things up, that is right." But Eva would not let them get what they wanted. She still calmly replied, "Ah." They were stunned and surprised by Eva's attitude, yes. And unexpectedly Eva was still calm and could laugh and say naturally that must be it. At this time everyone in the room was shocked and astonished. "Heavens, what tone is that? That is right, this is the princess's banquet, no matter how urgent the situation is. You should keep your manners." Eva immediately sternly replied harshly, "This sentence must be said to the madams. You must keep your manners with me." They were shocked but still tried to pretend. "What, you are not the Duchess, why do we have to do that?" Eva bluntly said, "If I, the biggest entertainment of this banquet, leave here early because of you madams." At this time her eyes were full of smugness and sarcasm as she looked at them and said, "Won't you be in trouble? If you want Princess Her Highness's banquet to end smoothly, then you have to try to keep me here for a long time, right?" Those people, embarrassed into anger, shameless. "No one here does not know your situation," instead of restraining yourself. She looked straight at them and coldly asked, "Well, do I owe you madams?" Eva looked at them and was sure that, even if she did not know the exact list of creditors, no one here had ever knocked on the annex building. She did not hesitate to continue. So, at least at this banquet I do not have to apologize to anyone. That woman's face turned red with anger when she not only could not embarrass Eva but was instead turned around. I am not guilty of anything in this place. Eva felt bored with these gossiping games and turned around and left. No one answered anything. I am losing interest. They looked at her uncomfortably. How could it be like this? Unexpectedly at this time, someone was watching and could not help but burst out laughing. The men were together around a table in the back quietly. They laughed and talked comfortably. I won the bet. Hurry up and give me the money. There is no other way. We got to see a special performance as expected. Everyone has intentions with Miss O'Hara, because she suddenly appeared and took the position of Duchess, so it is understandable. Viscount Chloe held a cigarette and casually laughed mockingly. She is not an ordinary woman. She used to live with the late Duchess Tease, who was famous for being strict and meticulous, right? After that he laughed excitedly. Just like a flower blooming on a cliff. I have always been waiting for the day it withers. But everyone did not respond to him and their faces turned pale and scared. Viscount Chloe asked confusedly, "What is wrong with everyone?" Unexpectedly Dicarno Tease had approached behind him. His face was extremely angry. At this time Viscount Chloe suddenly woke up and realized and looked up in fear, Duke. But Dicarno Tease did not say or do anything at all and just turned around and left. The remaining people were very surprised and also sighed in relief and looked at him. At this time Dicarno Tease had sat down on the chair. Then a man approached and said, "Everyone is waiting for when you will come." They were scared and forced a smile. "You also know we are not interested in this gathering. We came to see you." Viscount Chloe at this time dared to look up at him and guessed. He did not hear it. He tried to evade and started talking to Dicarno Tease. "After you adjusted the interest rates at the central bank, I finally breathed a sigh of relief." Dicarno Tease held the cigarette and lightly flicked the ashes onto the table calmly. "Is that so?" Viscount Chloe still humbly said. "Of course, not only me but all the nobles in Rodka." He saw Dicarno Tease suddenly realized that his cigarette was gradually burning out. And immediately bowed and tried to please him. "Duke, I will have someone bring an ashtray." Dicarno Tease coldly, "No need." Dicarno Tease unexpectedly stubbed the cigarette hard into his hat, making him look panicked. Dicarno Tease rubbed the cigarette hard and burned the hat. He then said, "Viscount Chloe." Dicarno Tease glared at him and said sarcastically, "I extremely hate others touching things that belong to me." Viscount Chloe's face turned pale with fear. "It is not like you think," Dicarno Tease coldly threatened. "One more time, I will never forgive you." His sharp eyes looked at him and warned, "No matter who it is." Not only Viscount Chloe but the people sitting around also broke out in a cold sweat and did not dare to speak. Viscount Chloe stammered, "Yes, Duke." After dealing with them, Dicarno Tease sat quietly on the chair. Then there was an announcement. "Princess Her Highness has arrived." Dicarno Tease immediately opened his eyes and looked towards her. Eva stood on the upper floor and watched. Princess Her Highness magnificently entered. She smiled and waved to everyone. She entered with arrogance and confidence. Everyone looked at the princess and praised her non-stop. "Hello, princess, you also look very beautiful today." Eva stood on the upper floor and looked down sadly. She stood still there with full of emotions. Eva at this time thought of the gossip she had heard earlier. The Duke sold the Rodka planes through a lawyer. For sure, that money was used to pay off debts. Bringing an unsuitable person into the house, so it is now so chaotic. She could not understand and was stunned. Dicarno sold the Rodka planes. At this time, Eva's heart was full of self-reproach. "Really, to pay off my debts, but I did not know anything and even complained about him, and thought he was a cold and cruel person." She seemed to be unable to suppress her emotions anymore and hugged her face sadly. "I thought he did not care about my feelings or situation. Does he care about me?" Eva felt that she was very reprehensible and implicated Dicarno Tease. "Now I do not know how to face him anymore." There was a knock on the door outside. Eva flinched and glanced. Eva hurriedly wiped her tears and said, "Wait a moment, I will be right there." She adjusted her state and stepped out calmly. "Come in," a familiar voice called her name, Eva. Eva was stunned. "Kyrian, that is right, it is me, Eva, Kyrian Rebel, the second son of the Rebel Count family." In front of her was a radiant blonde man standing in front of her and greeting her happily. At this time Eva looked very comfortable and happy. "Why are you here? I heard that there are warships docking at the port recently. It seems you came at that time, right?" Kyrian Rebel cheerfully and full of energy replied, "That is right. If I arrived earlier than scheduled, I would have wanted to attend your birthday banquet to surprise you." Eva was startled and unexpectedly thought of my birthday. She suddenly thought of her father at this time. Kyrian Rebel unexpectedly saw Eva absent-minded and was worried. "What is wrong, Eva?" She tried to calm down. How can I remember my father because of words like that?" Eva immediately smiled brightly and covered up her emotions at this time. "It is nothing. More importantly, I am glad you came here safely." But Kyrian Rebel probably knew everything and he sadly said words of comfort to her. Eva, on the way here, I heard news about Count O'Hara. I am sorry for not being able to be by your side during your hardest time. You must be very heartbroken. Are you okay now? Eva looked up at him and felt relieved and calm. So what I was expecting was this sentence. She became brighter and replied to Kyrian Rebel. I am better now. Thank you for your concern. Now she could relieve a little in her heart, not having to hide her emotions. Makes me feel so relieved. Eva then remembered, the first time I met Kyrian was around 10 years old, in Addis, a territory of the eastern continent. A boy approached and held a glass of water close to Eva and said, Do you want to drink it? At this time Eva was still a little girl. The boy Kyrian Rebel said to Eva that, It is quite hot in Addis, so you will feel tired. Whenever I feel tired like you, I drink this water. Eva happily replied to him, Thank you. The little girl gently reached out and took the cool glass of water. Kyrian is the son of Count Rebel, the governor of Addis, because he could not adapt to the heat in Addis. He often took care of me. The little girl Eva took a sip of water and became very refreshed and happy. It is so delicious. In that place we used to be best friends. Later I returned to my country. Kyrian joined the navy. I thought it would be difficult to see him. Eva and Kyrian Rebel were on the floor and happily reminiscing when they met again without knowing that Dicarno Tees was standing below and observing the two of them. I am very happy to see you again, Kyrian. Dicarno Tees' face at this time showed that he was very uncomfortable. At this time Her Highness immediately approached Dicarno Tees. Duke, so you are here. The princess looked at him and blushed embarrassedly and said shyly, I was very surprised to know that the Duke also attended my party. Dicarno Tees and the princess stood opposite each other and talked. Actually, Miss O'Hara participating in this banquet is an embarrassing thing, so I thought the Duke would be absent. Enduring other people's gazes is her job. She thought smugly as expected. It must be like that. Looking at the way he speaks, the Duke is also not on that woman's side. She then pretended and deliberately said, I also agree with the Duke's opinion. Dicarno Tees calmly said to the princess, Solving one's own problems is the duty of a noble. But she noticed that he was talking but did not look at her. But where is he looking? The princess also unconsciously looked up. There is no one on the second floor. She then turned her head back. But unexpectedly Dicarno Tees seemed to be very angry about something. He clenched the glass of wine so tightly that it cracked. The princess panicked. Duke, are you okay? Dicarno Tees hurried and stumbled. I am sorry, princess, it seems I used a little force in my hand. He slowly took out the wiping towel and continued to turn to the princess and said, If possible, let us continue the conversation. Your Highness was talking about the duty of a noble, right? It is hard to find Dicarno after the princess's banquet, because I am a burden to him. Eva walked alone, she sadly thought aimlessly. At this time Eva's mind felt heavy and she kept inferring too much. I do not know why, I can feel. She thought and felt the situation at this time. Dicarno's attitude was colder than before. After my father went missing after that storm, I live for myself, so paying attention to his attitude has become obvious. Eva stopped by the window. She looked inside sadly and helplessly. Is this what Dicarno wants? Not being able to understand his thoughts makes me feel confused, but if he sheds his responsibility with the assets of the Duke family then. At this time Eva clenched her hand and decided, I can't keep running away like this. She quickly left very quickly. This time I will try to talk to him first. Dicarno Tees was sitting drinking tea and reading the newspaper in the room. He saw her come in and gently asked, Evangeline, did you come to find me? That is strange. She replied, I have something to say. He seemed to be busy working and interrupted her, Sit down first. The maid approached Eva and said, I will pour you tea. At this time Eva felt worried and a little restless. It has been a long time since I have met alone with Dicarno, and it has also been a long time since I have been served by others. Her hand trembled as she held the teacup. This situation is so strange, Eva's stammering voice, that, it seems that Duke has been very busy lately. What should I do? Eva felt very uncomfortable. She was sweating and did not know where to start, because I feel nervous so I can't think of anything. He is a person who has his schedule arranged by the minute. Dicarno Tees looked at her and saw something strange. He then said, I do not think that is what you want to say. Eva hurriedly stood up and asked to leave. She did not dare to look straight at him and only thought, this person hates trouble. I will come here today, next time I will. No, seeing that you are still very good, I will go back first. Suddenly he hurriedly grabbed Eva's hand and called her, Evangeline. Dicarno Tees felt it and said, You are trembling. She could only sit down again and hurriedly explained, I am sorry, I do not hurt anywhere. I also do not know why it is like this, Dicarno Tees also said with some worry. Sit for a while and then leave. Eva looked at him and obediently nodded. She carefully looked at his face at this time and felt. His expression and way of speaking are still as usual, not angry. But also not sympathetic. Dicarno Tees' hand was still holding Eva's hand tightly, But on the contrary, I felt very relieved. It seems that coming here was the right decision. Outside the sky, snow was also gradually falling. Eva slowly retracted her hand. She quickly pulled her hand back from his hand. Eva felt a little more comfortable and said gently, "I am okay now, thank you for your concern." Decarno still coldly replied, "It is good that you are okay." Eva held the teacup and asked, Will you also be late tomorrow?" He looked and answered her that, "Maybe, I plan to visit His Majesty because his schedule is often not fixed." Eva heard that and then continued, "If you go to see His Majesty, surely this time you will also discuss the landscape business project." She recounted, "I heard from the ladies at the princess's banquet. Although the scale is small, it is a business project recruited by the royal family. It seems many nobles want to win this project." He looked at her and nodded calmly, "That is right. They will soon conduct a review of the participants. I am really looking forward to not knowing which family will receive the project and decorate the roads." At this time Decarno thought to himself, "How long has it been since the two of us talked comfortably like this?" He looked at her at this time in a comfortable mood and chatting inadvertently and thought, "It is like going back to the past." The two had been very comfortable, just like a couple in love. "That is right, we used to talk directly together," and she did not hesitate to express her emotions. Decarno was also very caring and gentle with Eva. "You look very cold, let us go inside." Decarno hands used to hold her hands tightly, gradually shortening the distance. He pulled her along just like a real lover, even though they were not married yet, but both did not hesitate to be affectionate and show their feelings to each other. "We had fulfilled our marital duties with each other. It was not a bad relationship. But now the two are distant and become embarrassed when sitting opposite each other, although the current relationship has become awkward. But if I try to be proactive like this time, I will be able to mend the relationship between us." Suddenly Eva said, "Because you said you will be late, so I have something to ask." She shyly said, "Can I invite guests to the mansion? Actually, I met an old friend at the recent banquet. We have not seen each other for a long time, so I want to talk more." She wanted to ask Decarno for permission. "I think instead of going out, inviting that friend here would be better." He immediately understood and was a little uncomfortable. Decarno immediately thought of Kyrian Rebel and said uncomfortably, "That guy said he wanted to see where you live." Eva nodded, "Yes." But then Eva hurriedly explained, "No, Killian does not want that. It is me." Decarno interrupted, "You, the person who will become the Duchess, actually remember the name of an ordinary naval officer." Decarno showed a frustrated and somewhat jealous expression and asked her, "It seems the two of you are quite close." Eva panicked and stammered to explain, "Yes, what are you saying? Killian is just a friend. He was the only one who talked to me at the banquet that day." Decarno said angrily and deliberately to Eva, "Do you think that guy talked to you out of kindness? You still do not understand the ways of the world." Hearing that, Eva was very sad and disappointed. Her voice was emotionless. "Decarno is no different from usual, but why do I feel so uncomfortable?" Eva immediately looked at him and said, "Yes." She put down the teacup and said, "You are right." Eva lowered her head a little sadly and pretended to be calm. "I am immature." Immediately Eva turned around and left. "I am sorry for saying nonsense. The tea is finished, I will get up first." Decarno also hurriedly called her. "Wait, Evangeline." Eva bowed and said resentfully, "I won't invite guests, you do not need to worry." She immediately turned around and walked away. "Well, I will go now." Eva felt very uncomfortable and extremely frustrated, although she has now lost all honor and wealth. But sadness shrouded her again. "He actually suspects me, the person who has worked hard for many years." Eva's body trembled and could not restrain herself to fulfill the duty of a duchess, to have a secret relationship with her friend. Eva walked quickly and her heart ached. "I thought if I tried we would be able to live in harmony." Hurriedly returning to her room, "It was all my imagination." Eva rushed to the window and resentfully, "In the end, what am I dedicating?" She slammed hard on the window to release her emotions. "What is my youth in this prison-like place for?" Eva slumped on the glass. This time it has really exceeded the limit of her endurance, a place where no one is on her side. At this time a maid knocked on the door and said, "Miss, can I come in?" Eva hurriedly turned around to hide her tears. The maid brought a plate of food and comforted her. "Your complexion is too bad." She gently said to Eva, "I will bring the hot soup and tea first." Eva immediately asked the maid, "Did the Duke tell you yes?" Eva immediately turned around and refused. The maid panicked, Miss, that I do not want to eat." Eva approached the small table and was sitting writing something. Then she quickly held out a letter and gave it to the maid. "Send this to Fifth Avenue Melks for me." "Yes, miss." Looking at the maid's back as she left, Eva seemed to know clearly that that letter would also reach Decarno. She stood watching with a sad face. "It saves me the trouble of privately announcing the cancellation of the appointment." Eva turned around tiredly. She slowly returned to the bed with full of thoughts. Eva slumped on the bed and thought alone. It is strange, being alienated by everyone because my family has fallen, not being able to meet my old friend. She lay down and felt sad because of Decarno T's words just now. Even the person who will become my husband misunderstood me unreasonably. Even so, I do not feel angry anymore. Maybe I have reached the bottom of my endurance. Eva drowsily dreamed and saw the father she had been missing. Those warm words rang out, Evangeline, even if you fall into the worst situation. Do not give up, you have reached the bottom, now you have to overcome it. Her father's kind face appeared like a light helping her endure everything, Father. Eva huddled up in fear. When will I be able to overcome this? The night sky was late. The full moon shone brightly. A maid carrying a chest entered Eva's room. She shook her and called Eva to wake up. Let her, miss, wake up. Eva sat up and looked at her and asked, did the Duke come back? But the maid shook her head and said, not yet, I came to pass on a message. The maid hugged the wooden chest up and said to Eva, there is a guest at the trade union who has come here. That person said they can't trust anyone under the Duke. So they told me to definitely deliver it to you in person. The maid gave it to Eva, and also said it was the things you asked for. Eva looked at the chest and was extremely nervous. Did Philip send it to me? Eva trembled and opened the lid of the chest. If it is the things I asked for, could it be? At this time Eva stared blankly inside. She was stunned and could not believe it. The object inside the box was a shoe covered in mud, and a button that I had chosen. The tragic relics of my father. At this time in the room, Decarno T's was holding a piece of paper and reading it very carefully. Unexpectedly, it was information about the sinking incident of Count O'Hara's ship that had been sent to Decarno T's, the scene of the Count O'Hara accident. There is no news of survivors. Fragments of the sunken ship have been found, but the objects can't be guaranteed. Decarno T's carefully read and kept thinking, the situation is not optimistic. Do not expect much as I predicted. It is not easy to survive an accident like that. It can be considered that Count O'Hara is dead. Then he immediately threw that notice into the fire. Decarno T's then turned around and said, and next, Your Majesty. Two servants quickly announced to Decarno T's that, Miss O'Hara has asked us to send this letter to Fifth Avenue Melks. Decarno T's then took it out and read it just as Eva had thought. It is the letter Evangeline wants to send, if it is Fifth Avenue Melks. He immediately read the contents of that letter. Dear Kirian. Eva wrote to Kirian that, because something unexpected happened, I might not be able to keep my promise. I will contact you soon. Wait for me. I hope you stay healthy and remember to eat well. Evangeline O'Hara. Decarno T's looked and felt uncomfortable. As expected, it was sent to that so-called friend. At this time Decarno T's suddenly remembered the moment of him and Eva. Even if it was just holding hands for a moment, I could still feel that she was thinner than before. With such a body, she actually cares about the health of a healthy naval officer. The look in Eva's eyes that Decarno T's saw was full of emotion and sadness. It is really ridiculous. He held that letter and immediately sat up. Immediately, without hesitation, he threw that letter straight into the fireplace. Evangeline, from the moment I chose you to become the Duchess, your every action has been linked to the name T's. There is no reason why you do not understand the meaning of it. His eyes flashed a little sadness. From the moment I was born into the T's family, my fate was arranged, given wealth and fame. But along with that are the obligations and rules I must follow. Who to talk to, where to be, how many times I smile. Even changing the ranks of nobles, I was oppressed by that weight to the point where I had difficulty breathing since I was young. From the time Decarno T's was young, he had to live and do according to the binding rules in his family. Then, those rules and obligations gradually became me without me knowing it. Even if there is no longer the previous generation of Duke T's, I can still stand firm. As a T's family member, I have become someone who only knows how to crave prosperity for the family and the empire. Then I met you. The person who is suitable to become a perfect duchess, the only person who can understand that weight. That is what I thought. The letter that Eva wrote gradually burned and disappeared. At this time the servant came in and announced to Decarno T's, Your Majesty, I have brought the list you mentioned. He gave a list to Decarno T's and said, among the guests who attended the party that day, these are the people who talked to Miss O'Hara. Only the person who is said to be a friend has goodwill, the rest do not. Decarno T's frowned looking at the list and felt uncomfortable. But you had predicted that. They are on Princess Her Highness's side. In addition, I also heard that the nobles are participating in the bidding for the landscape business project this time. And the person directly in charge is Princess Her Highness. He hesitantly said to Decarno T's that, perhaps the nobles think that provoking Miss O'Hara, then they will win the bid and gain favor from the princess. Decarno T's immediately seriously asked, when does His Majesty begin his trip to the east? Yes, after 3 more days, Duke. So the reward for accompanying on the trip, is the right to do business in this landscape project. And even now, she is sitting alone in the room and still constantly thinking about the story of her and him. Father is gone. It is time to give up hope and longing. Eva's face was absent-minded and desperate. Her hands were still hugging tightly the chest that contained her father's last relics. As my father's daughter, the last thing I have to do, number 30, row F, 3rd Avenue, Tehran. Eva bowed and picked up the small piece of paper on the table. I have decided that my father's relics will be placed in the cemetery in the slum area, with an area of about 6.6 square meters. Anyone who sees it will think I am unfilial, but that is where few people pay attention. So I will be able to rest there. An unmarked grave is better than being buried in my heart. At this moment Eva cried. Tears of pain fell down her cheeks after so many incidents had come. Father traveled everywhere and met countless people, but in the end, I can't expect the presence of anyone at the funeral. Eva slumped down in despair. The death of a person who has lost everything is so lonely. The Duke's luggage is on the other side. Hey, leave it there. If it is the Duke who sold the Rodka planes that have been passed down for many generations in the Tease family to pay off my debts, then can I call him? Eva's eyes were full of sadness and thoughts. Is it possible? I have a feeling if I let him know I am not alone, he will rest in peace. The servant tried to stop Eva. Miss O'Hara, what is wrong with you coming to the main building? You can't barge in like this. Seeing him from afar, Eva hurriedly called out loudly, DiCarlo. He immediately turned around and saw her rushing to call him Evangeline. DiCarlo Tease hurriedly asked, what is wrong? Eva then said, I have something I want to ask you. Next Friday, do you have time? Hearing that he was a little surprised, she anxiously begged him. There is something I want to do with you on that day. If I say organize a funeral, I do not know how the people will spread rumors again. Please, just this question, I hope you will come. But he bluntly said, I am sorry, but that day is not possible. DiCarlo Tease put his hand on his head and confusedly explained to her, from today, I will escort His Majesty on the trip for about 1 week. But Eva still sadly asked him, do you definitely have to go? Of course, because this is a matter of the royal family. He looked at her sad face and then looked towards the group of servants and thought, there are too many people here. Prolonging the conversation will not be good. DiCarlo Tease immediately turned around and left, but still tried to reassure her. Go and rest first. If I am lucky I can come back in time, then I will come to find you. Eva then grabbed his sleeve and begged, wait a minute. She still tried to beg him, 3rd Avenue, Tehran, if you come back in time, please come there. Eva said very seriously to DiCarlo Tease, for the first and last time I am asking you. If you listen to this, I will spend the rest of my life living according to your wishes, she pleaded pitifully. But at this time he probably did not understand her thoughts and only worried that, Evangeline, why is she so stubborn today? What will happen if the servants see this and spread bad rumors? DiCarlo, he gently removed her hand and only replied, you go back first. Then quickly turned around and left, leaving her standing there alone, and only said, I will remember this. DiCarlo Tease pondered, I can't arbitrarily adjust the schedule with His Majesty, and I can't let others see this weak attitude. If you have decided to carry the name Tease, Eva's sad figure stood watching his back leave like that. You will definitely understand me. The entrance to the west, the annex building of the Tease Duke's mansion, a carriage is standing in front of the gate. The gatekeeper saw that and immediately stopped. Please stop. They shouted loudly, you can't go out. Eva peeked out to look. She stepped down from the carriage and asked the gatekeeper why. They stammered and replied to her that, the entrance to the annex building has been sealed off, please return. But Eva did not let it go and immediately ordered. The annex building is the property of the Duchess, passed down for generations. The Duchess is the one who decides everything related to this land. Put away the spears and open the gate. He hesitated and said, but you are not married yet. Then you should let me go out even more. Eva calmly said, according to your words, I have nothing to do with this family. The two gatekeepers looked at each other awkwardly and wondered, what should we do now? But the Duke. Eva immediately reassured them. In the end, that is the problem. The Duke already knows that I am going out. You can rest assured. Open the gate. Then the gate was gradually opened. I already told DiCarlo in advance, going out like this should be fine, at least this time. No one can stop me, she thought to herself sitting on the carriage. Because today is the day to hold the funeral for my father. The carriage moved urgently. She came to a desolate and remote cemetery outside. At this time Mr. Philip was already here digging a grave and waiting for her early. He saw the carriage arrive. He hurriedly ran over, young head. He helped her out of the car. Eva said, Philip, he looked at her worriedly. It has been a long time since I have seen you. In the time that I have not seen you, it seems that Miss has lost a lot of weight. But Eva only gently nodded and got out of the car and said, I am okay, more importantly. She looked towards this deserted cemetery with full of thoughts. This place. Philip looked at her sadly and replied, "It is a place where people who do not have relatives are often buried. No one will think that the Count's grave is placed in this place." Eva hugged the chest tightly in her arms and thought, "That is right, if it is this place, the creditors will not be able to find it. Lead me to my father's place, Philip." He immediately led her away. Stopped at a small corner following Philip, she looked, "It is this place, young head." Her father's grave could only be a simple small pit dug hastily like this. Philip then said to her, "Before you came, I had already dug the grave." Eva picked up a handful of dirt and observed it. The soil is cold and moist. She looked at the handful of dirt and remembered, "From my father, I learned how to recognize a good piece of land through the soil." His image gently guiding her, a good or bad piece of land. Just look at its soil and you will know right away. The amount of rain is moderate and beneficial to life. Eva bit her lips painfully and helplessly. "If I could, I would also like to take father to a place full of sunshine and warmth like that." "Father, I am sorry. Mr. Philip looked at the sky and worriedly said, "Young head, I think we have to hurry. It is about to rain. If it rains, we will have a hard time burying him properly." Eva hurriedly opened the chest. "I will do it right away. It will be done in a moment." Suddenly he saw the shoelace on her hand and asked curiously, "Young head, is not that the family head's shoelace?" She nodded and explained, "I want to keep one of my father's things," then immediately gave the chest to him. "Here, bury it." Philip slowly held the chest and placed it down into the dirt hole. Then he used a shovel to slowly scoop dirt up to cover it up. She watched and could not hide her reluctant feelings. Eva held the wooden tombstone that she had made for her father, dedicating all her love and respect to the best father. Then she said to Philip that, "Thank you, Philip, you go back first." He turned around and asked her, "Yes, are not you going back, young head?" "Yes, I will stay a little longer." The sky had gradually turned darker. Black crows perched on the tall trees. Eva was still standing there looking at her father's grave for a long time. A simple grave, with a simple wooden tombstone planted. She stood there and secretly talked, "Father, you really like driving the ship to visit the world, right? Well, please leave a trace of your life here. And leave freely to follow this stream of rain." The heavy rain kept falling. Eva stood in the rain and secretly said, "Father, do not worry about me." She tried hard to say that because I have that person by my side, maybe today he will come here. Because I have asked him. Eva was still standing there waiting until he came. The rain also washed away her tears. Eva said the last words to her beloved father. "So, do not worry about me and rest in peace, father. Even if there is no father anymore, I will live very proudly, strongly." The rain grew larger, the thunder also struck down very strongly. Suddenly in the rain, the sound of a carriage rushed from afar. Eva was still standing in front of her father's grave in the heavy rain. A carriage rushed over. There were footsteps approaching Eva. She thought to herself, "This sound of footsteps could it be?" She hurriedly turned around. Dicarno. A man holding an umbrella stood there. Eva was happy. "You really came." That man called her name, Evangeline. Eva tried hard to say, "Thank you for coming." At this time at a mining city in the far north of the east, Thunberg. Everyone was very happy in front of a sumptuous table. A man laughed happily. "I am truly a lucky man. The Lord of Thunberg, Margrave Bandel, not only discovered a gem mine in his territory, but also had the opportunity to have an audience with His Majesty. Like this." Then using a fork to taste the food, "Let us see." The King of Bleach ate and chatted comfortably with the Lord of Thunberg. "In my opinion, you seem to welcome the person next to me more. The Emperor of the Belize Empire, Aiden von Belich." Then he turned to Dicarno Tees and asked, "What do you think, Duke Tees?" But he only coldly replied, "Not really." The king leaned over and deliberately whispered to Dicarno Tees, "Do not act so rigid, pay attention to people a little, making people worry like that, do not you feel sorry?" At this time opposite him, a beautiful young lady was blushing shyly looking at Dicarno Tees. Dicarno Tees quickly refused, "Your Majesty, I already have a marriage partner." The king laughed loudly and mocked, "I know." The king picked up the glass of wine and was interested. "I am just kidding, relax." But unexpectedly the king had understood the situation clearly and immediately thought, "Letting my daughter appear here like this, it seems the rumors in the capital have spread to here." The Lord of Thunberg turned and said to his daughter, "Herma, bring out the things I told you." The daughter then obediently, "Yes, father." The king immediately thought, "Perhaps, the position of Tees Duchess will soon be vacant." The king looked at that girl leaving and thought to himself, "It is a fascinating rumor for anyone, but he does not want to find someone else." Then he looked at Dicarno Tees, who was calmly having his meal. The king again felt very interested in this matter and was looking forward to it. Having something to watch on this trip is also interesting. He also thought to himself again, actually, the recent actions of Duke Tees have been a little unusual. The Duke Tease, who is famous for being sharp as a knife, is actually planning to conduct a losing wedding on this trip, although he is accompanying. He does not ask for anything big, but only received the small landscape project that Bologna was in charge of, because the adjustment of the conditions led to the princess's anger. But how the princess came and tried hard to beg him. Where did this way of doing things come from? If I receive help with a worthless price, I should be grateful. Suddenly His Majesty asked, I wonder how Miss O'Hara is living these days. It is almost the end of the week but she can't go anywhere. What should Miss do if she is bored? Hearing that, Dicarno Tease was very surprised. Is it the end of the week already? His Majesty calmly replied, today is Friday, so it is almost the weekend. Immediately Dicarno Tease hurriedly remembered what Eva had said. Do you have time next Friday? That day, I have something I must do with you. He urgently said, this trip lasted longer than I thought. If I set off early tomorrow morning, then I can return to the capital in the afternoon. His Majesty heard that and joked, you want to go back already? Do not you feel sorry? There is something more urgent than completing state affairs that I do not know about. At this time the Lord's daughter came back. Miss Herma came at just the right time. She unexpectedly knelt down. Your Majesty is noble. Lord Thunberg said flatteringly with a smile. Thank you for this visit. I have prepared a gift. She then opened that box. These are the first stones that we mined at the mine this time. His Majesty saw it and could not stop admiring it. I like it very much. It is rare to see these stones in the capital. He then noticed a stone and was curious and asked, what is this? Only it emits a dim light. She explained that, this is kaolite mineral. It is still rough stone that has not been processed, so it has a dim light. She continued, kaolite mineral has been very popular among young ladies recently, because it is harder to find than ordinary diamonds. Dicarno Tease came over and asked, if it is a rough stone, they do not know what is inside. Why is it so popular? She immediately explained, because kaolite carries a special meaning. Like this mineral that can't be seen inside. The two of you do not understand each other much yet, but if you spend your whole life together, the two of you will find each other's true value. People often give it as a gift whenever they propose to someone. Dicarno Tease carefully looked at that stone and smiled with interest. Then he turned to His Majesty and said, Your Majesty, I will buy that mineral. He smiled and guessed, no need, I will give it to you. But His Majesty set a condition that, in exchange, stay here for one more day. It is raining very hard and it probably won't stop for a long time. At this time Eva smiled through tears painfully. She choked out, thank you for coming. But that man was not Dicarno Tease, he said sadly, Eva, it is me. At this time Eva could see more clearly and called the name, Kirian. Eva gently asked, I did not expect you to come all the way here. She was surprised, how did you know I was here? Kilian stammered and replied, because I found it strange when you suddenly cancelled the appointment last time. So I sent someone to the Duke's mansion to see if something happened to you. But they said you went out today, so I ran to the trade union. He recounted, there I met Philip and heard that you were here. Eva finally understood, so that is how it is. At this time Eva was extremely disappointed in the end. He did not come at all as expected. My request was too much for him. Although her mood was sad, she could not express her emotions. She could only smile with this old friend of mine, who was also the only guest who came to visit her father. Eva forced a smile at Kilian. Thank you for coming, father will be very happy. Yes, definitely. Eva bit her lip tightly. Kilian gently touched her and worried, Evangeline, I see that you are not in good condition. Your body is trembling. No, get in my carriage. Both sat on that carriage to shelter from the rain. Eva gently used the scarf to wipe off the rain. Kilian hurriedly asked, how long have you been standing under this rain? Kilian hugged his head and lamented, this is Count Chara's funeral, but how could your fiancé leave you here alone? Eva hurriedly said, you made you worry. I am sorry, Kirian. He hesitated. I did not mean to. Kilian stammered and expressed, I was angry when he abandoned you like that, so I said that. I am sorry. More importantly, you must go see a doctor immediately. But Eva refused and said, Kirian, I want to stay here a little longer. He looked at her very worriedly and confusedly. What, do you know what your current situation is and you say that? She struggled to say softly, Kirian. Eva was still looking towards her father's grave sadly. This is the last time. Kilian unexpectedly asked, What do you mean, Eva? She did not say anything but just looked down. At this time Eva decided, even though it is late, but who knows, he might come to me. I will wait for him one last time. Eva remembered the words her father taught, to recognize a good piece of land. My father waited in that place for half a day. Is it similar to waiting for someone or not? A carriage was also rushing in the rain. Dicarno Tease was sitting in the car and thinking, it is Friday that Evangeline said, but it is already night. He was a little worried but gently touched the box next to him and reassured himself, even so, I have prepared a gift, it will be okay. A beautiful sparkling purple stone. Dicarno Tease held it in his hand and was very hopeful. He then remembered what that girl had said, like this stone that can't be seen inside. The two of you do not understand each other yet, but if you spend your whole life together, the two of you will see each other's true value. No young lady would not like to receive this gift. Especially from the Duke. Propose. He kept thinking. The marriage between me and Evangeline is a secretly decided matter. If I let her live in the annex building, the place for the Duchess, maybe she also won't object to that decision. To turn Evangeline into Evangeline von Teese is an obvious matter, so from the beginning, I did not feel that I needed to propose to her. Even so, in order to get this stone, I accepted the Emperor's offer. Because I thought that, when she receives it, maybe her expression will be different from usual. But Dicarno Teese was very worried because of the words she had said before that. He was very curious, what exactly is today, that Evangeline's appearance was so urgent. Worrying about the past won't change anything. I had an appointment with His Majesty, and I have also prepared a gift to soothe her mood. Dicarno Teese tried to reassure himself that Evangeline will definitely understand. Suddenly at this time there were many people in front of the gate. Dicarno Teese got out and asked, "What is wrong?" The manager immediately bowed and apologized, that, "I am sorry, Your Majesty." He urgently ordered, "Manager, do I have to ask you again? Get straight to the point." He hesitated. "Miss O'Hara has disappeared." The manager immediately recounted everything. "Miss went out in the morning but has not returned, so we have been searching everywhere she might go," Dicarno Teese continued, and the servants standing on one side were very scared. No one knew where the person who will become the mistress of the family had gone, and felt panicked too late. "Is that so?" Michael in the back hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, should not we prioritize searching for Miss? If we continue like this, if rumors spread that that person disappeared then?" Dicarno Teese calmly said, "All right, I think I know where she is." Michael was surprised and said, "Yes." He turned his head and calmly said an address, 3rd Avenue Tetron. The rain was getting heavier. Lightning illuminated the sky. The horse hurriedly ran in the rain. Dicarno Teese rode the horse directly in the rain to go find Eva. At this time he pulled the horse to a stop. He glanced ahead. This place is a cemetery. Dicarno Teese wondered, a remote and little noticed place. Find the newly built grave for me. No need to look at the names on the tombstones. Tombstones without names carved on them were scattered on the ground. The servant hurriedly ran over and reported, "Your Majesty, I found it." He held a wooden tombstone and said, "The grave is similar to what you said. This tablet is." Dicarno Teese reached out and gently took it. It is the tombstone of Eva's father. At this time Dicarno Teese seemed to suddenly wake up. "Today you ran here because of this, using your own effort for an unmarked grave." Unexpectedly there was a sound behind. "No, I said I did not steal. Shut up. Do you know who this is?" A disheveled man with a beard was tied up and brought in front of him. He shouted loudly, "I am just a wanderer. You guys randomly force me like this." Dicarno Teese looked at him coldly. Michael then reported, "Your Majesty, this man boasted that he knew everything about this road. I thought you needed it, so just ask him." He trembled. "What do you want to find?" Dicarno Teese immediately said, "A woman who can't be forgotten after seeing her once." He ordered, "What do you remember about her? Tell me everything." At this time, in a large mansion, a panicked and worried voice rang out, "Call for the most capable physician here." The manager stood outside the door and wondered, "But master," Killian immediately ordered, "No one saw anything today." He held out his hand and gestured, "I believe you understand what I mean, yes?" Killian turned around and worriedly looked. At this time Eva was lying on the bed and unconscious. "Eva." Killian bowed and looked at her and wondered, "How have you been living all this time?" He reached out and gently stroked her hair and said, "Do not worry." Suddenly there was a sound. Killian flinched. He blankly turned around. He hurriedly put on his coat and went out to investigate. "It seems there is some noise outside the door. It is already late. Who is making noise like this?" Killian stood at the door and then said, "I am sorry, but the patient is sleeping now. Please be quiet." The other person immediately coldly replied, "Who is sleeping?" Killian was stunned and looked at him. It was Dicarno Teese standing there angrily looking at him intently. Killian stammered, "Duke Teese." Dicarno Teese immediately questioned, "Who is sleeping?" Killian still tried to stop him. "Duke Teese, why are you here?" Outside, the two sides of the soldiers of the two houses were struggling with each other. "Why are you doing this to our master? Even if you are the Duke, you are barging in at this hour." Dicarno Teese thought to himself, "You had intentions from the beginning, right?" Dicarno Teese coldly ordered, "I did not come to talk to you. Where is Evangeline?" Killian thought to himself, when Eva needed him he did not come, but now he is coming to find her. He immediately refused to answer and said, "Your Majesty, this is the property of the rebel family. Please keep your manners and come officially." Dicarno Tease approached and bluntly said, "The one who must keep his manners is you." Killian hesitated. "What are you saying?" Dicarno Tease immediately sarcastically said to Killian, "Were not you randomly bringing a person who has a fiancé back home? You must feel grateful that I have not caused trouble." Dicarno Tease then threatened, "If you do not lead me to her, then get out of the way." Killian had to recount it to Dicarno Tease. "It is useless for me to deny it, so I just want to ask one question." Eva was almost exhausted because she was in the rain for too long. "While I was calling the physician, what were you doing?" "Captain Kyrian Rebel." Dicarno Tease said, making Killian stunned. "Do you intend to interfere with the work schedule of your superior? If it is a matter related to the Emperor, can you handle it?" Dicarno Tease said without restraint, "It seems that the one who does not know his place is you. Your Majesty, if you want to deal with it according to military law, then do it." Killian tried to hold back, clenching his trembling hand. Killian had to bow and yield. "I will lead the way." Dicarno Tease looked into the bright room. He quickly went in. His hand hurriedly opened the door. Eva was lying asleep inside. Dicarno Tease immediately said, "It is lucky it is the living room." Killian hesitated. "Yes." Dicarno Tease coldly threatened Killian, "If it was the bedroom, you would have died." The port was full of ships. All kinds of mythical animals lined the streets. Addis used to be one of the richest cities in the eastern continent. Eva, when she was young, was a very innocent and beautiful girl. Eva called loudly, "Father." Eva cheerfully waved and urged her father, "Come here quickly, because of my father's work. Addis was a place I often visited. I have always considered that place as my hometown." A step approached and said, "Evangeline, you have to be careful." He very gently and lovingly said to her, "Put your hat on properly. Your neck is all red from the sun." Remembering the time she was by her father's side, how happy she was, whenever the sun was harsh and the air was hot, making my cheeks turn red. I felt like I had just finished a long journey and returned home. It is too hot. Like that time, Eva was lying in a feverish daze in the room and kept remembering old memories. After a long time, she finally woke up. Eva looked around. Where is this? Not my room." At this time, Dicarno Tease was standing beside and asked her, "You are awake?" Unexpectedly, she was shocked and suddenly sat up and asked him, "Why am I in the Duke's bedroom?" Dicarno Tease reassured Eva, "Calm down, Evangeline, you still can't sit up." He instructed her, according to the attending doctor, "You have overdone it." Dicarno Tease thoughtfully and carefully took care of her. "Your room in the whole building has too much wind. It will be better if you stay here for a while." Eva looked a little shyly and said, "But we are not married. I can't stay in the Duke's bedroom." Dicarno Tease said with certainty to reassure her, "We will definitely hold the wedding. You do not need to worry." Eva was shocked. "The wedding?" She then said, "Is that so?" Eva then thought silently for a moment, thinking about it. "The last memory I remember was being with Kyrian. Did he take me back to the mansion?" She then asked about Killian. "So Kyrian?" Dicarno Tease only calmly replied, "If it is that naval captain, I know how to solve it. You worry about your health." Eva clenched the blanket and thought to herself, Dicarno did something to Kyrian. In the end, everything is happening according to his wishes. He is someone who must hold everything in his hands to be satisfied. She confusedly looked at him, "Like imprisoning me in this bedroom." Eva only saw his coldness, indifference. That was the truth that I realized while waiting for him in the rain. For him, the work of Duke Tease is what is important. In it, there is no presence of me, but... She remembered the moment she had mustered up the courage to beg him just once. "I only hoped that this time he could prioritize me. As someone who lives with me for the rest of my life, I had hoped that he would play the role of husband just once." She has had to endure continuous injuries and could not take it anymore. At this time, even though she was sick, Eva still could not obediently listen, unable to get to that place. Not even an apology, on the contrary. He still wants to imprison me, as if it is obvious. She decided to leave his room. "I will get up first." But as soon as she stood up, she felt something. Unable to stand firm anymore, Eva immediately fell out. Dicarno Tease panicked and immediately caught her. "Evangeline." He anxiously said to her, "What would have happened if you suddenly stood up? I told you to stabilize first if you had fallen." She struggled to groan, "Let go." Dicarno Tease was surprised. "What?" she said coldly. "I am okay, let go." He stroked her hair and asked, "Why are you uncomfortable with me?" Eva hesitated. "No." Dicarno Tease continued to probe. "So what is the problem?" She could not say it. "It is just..." Eva immediately said, "I think I have changed." Dicarno Tease quickly tied the robe cord for Eva. She continued, "Under the same conditions, but I have different feelings than before, so maybe I have changed." He just looked at her silently, then immediately replied, "Is that so? You just change." Eva was surprised. "Duke." Saying that, he hurriedly hugged her and confidently, "This much I can handle." She leaned into his chest and quietly did not say anything. But then Eva pushed him away. I do not know if you can do it, but I do not think you will. Eva took Dicarno T's hand and resolutely said, now let us stop. He glanced at her. And then replied, Evangeline, you think? Eva sadly thought to herself that, I am not the right person for the Duke. Let us call off the engagement. Evangeline O'Hara looked at Dicarno T's sadly and said, I think I am not the right person for the Duke. She decided to make her own choice, so. His face was full of disbelief. She announced, let us call off the engagement. He clenched his hand trying to restrain his anger. He said in a low voice and asked again, what for you is marriage so easy to give up? She looked up at him trying to explain to him, at first, I also wanted to maintain our relationship to the end. But her mind is currently only a dark space, she replied, but right now I am not confident anymore. He sadly looked at her, reflecting the image of this girl in his eyes. He was silent for a long time. He tilted his head, not looking at her, as if he was avoiding something. He replied, let us pretend I did not hear those words just now. He turned around and quietly left. Eva's voice rang out, Duke. She sadly said, you know I'm talking seriously, right? He, annoyed, turned back to look at her but did not say anything. She looked at him with a sad voice. If you are willing to talk, then come see me anytime. A new day begins. Dicarno was intently looking at the official documents, then a voice rang out, Your Majesty. Michael was holding a piece of paper and respectfully gave it to Delarno. He said, I am sorry for bothering you while you are busy working, but please try to take a look at this. He looked at the paper suspiciously. What is this? Michael respectfully replied, it is a newspaper I confiscated before it was widely released. Michael said, it almost made the front page. He carefully read the newspaper. The secret outing of a certain young lady last Friday night. A young lady with a high status visited a certain adjacent house on Milk Street, according to an anonymous informant. This young lady is someone everyone knows, who may have a close relationship with the homeowner. Dicarno's voice rang out, the source. The image of the Rebel House manager appeared in his head. Michael replied, there is speculation that the Rebel House manager sold the information. Dicarno's train of thought was going on. From my point of view, the captain had already fired the manager from before. It seems that the day I thought the information leak had been resolved. He held the newspaper in his hand and thought to himself, so naive. He asked, how is the investigation going? Michael replied, Count Rebel, the father of Captain Kirian, has been appointed as the governor of the Addis Islands for 20 years. Michael's voice still continued to ring out. It is rumored that he is quite ambitious and wants to return to the Rourke's foreign ministry. Michael continued, recently, he has been sending his eldest son Andis to establish relationships with the nobles in the empire. He said satisfactorily, well done, send this news to Count Rebel. He sat on the chair thinking about the Rebel family. To Count Rebel, the father must also know that his second son is doing something stupid here, if the Count does not want to enjoy his old age under the hot sun of Addis. He looked at Michael calmly and said, he will control himself. Michael sweated a little worriedly and said, I understand, there is one more thing I want to report. He said, the Rebel House manager said a lot at the drinking table. I do not know when the news of Miss will be published in the newspaper again. Michael started to plan. For now, I will go meet the company owners and remind them. But Dicarno's voice interrupted him. No. He said a little impatiently, throw them a bigger bait. He launched a heavy bomb, for example, my wedding. Michael panicked. Are you really holding the wedding? He calmly replied. This marriage was decided a long time ago. It is just that so many things have happened, so it has been delayed. He wanted to continue, but Your Majesty. He sternly interrupted him. That is enough. Do not you have something to deal with? Michael remembered the pink mineral stone. So, the rough stone that you brought back from Thumberge, should I pack it up as a gift? He bowed his head as if he was hesitating about something. Then he angrily replied, throw it away. Michael was startled and widened his eyes. Yes. He squinted his eyes, annoyed, and said, I said throw it away because it is useless now. He sadly thought with a little loss, without the stone, it won't affect the pre-arranged wedding and I can no longer see your smiling face. Remembering Eva's gentle smile, he thought, I feel a little regret. In Eva's room, the jewelry box was opened. She stood in front of the mirror looking at the dressing table. The engagement ring quietly lay in the table drawer. She sadly thought, the position of Duchess is no longer mine from now on. She looked at the ring for a long time and felt like she was liberated. Accepting this truth, I feel much more comfortable than before. I think I have used this room for too long. She thought, possessions that can be carried. She closed the drawer of the dressing table and thought, not as much as I thought. But she also has something to miss, she thought. Even so, the reason I can't leave this mansion easily. The sound of a dog barking in the distance. Woof woof. She happily laughed and called out loudly, Rex. From afar, a pure white fluffy dog cheerfully ran over, Woof. Took momentum and jumped high. Hugging her, its mouth breathing heavily. She happily stroked the dog, her eyes full of affection, and said, My Rex, you are always full of energy, huh? The dog snuggled and pushed its head into her palm. She smiled teasingly. Even if you are a dog, you have to have character, Rex. You are a descendant of ancient northern dogs. The dog lay on its back, revealing its soft belly. She bowed her head and continued to talk to the dog. Are you listening to me, Rex? You are really. She regretfully thought, if I leave this place, I will have to say goodbye to Rex. Her voice sadly said goodbye to the dog. Rex, you must live well, very bravely, you know. She hugged the dog and said, My child. Suddenly she turned her head back. Someone was approaching her. A voice full of contempt rang out, So touching, huh? If you have time, why do not you spend some time with me? DiCarlo coldly said, We still have something to talk about. The time has reached the afternoon. He stood there looking at her and Rex. She turned her head and stroked the dog's head. Rex. She calmly said, Even if you did not say it, I was waiting. He blushed embarrassedly, looking at her. You were waiting for me. She said, Of course, if you are ready, let us talk it over. She stepped closer to him and smelled the alcohol wafting out. She looked at his flushed face. You are drunk. He covered his mouth and hiccuped softly. She surprisedly thought, What is wrong with this person? She admired him a little. Even on the day I drank with my father, I thought I was quite addicted to alcohol, but compared to the Duke teas, I am nothing. She looked at him and assessed, He can stay sober to the point of being annoying. I thought he was drinking strong alcohol, but his face is red and he is staggering. She worriedly looked at him. Just how much did you drink? He called her name, Evangeline. She felt uneasy and turned to leave and said, Wait, I will go call someone. You go and rest first, we will talk later. He spoke and called her, Wait. He hopefully asked, The matter of calling off the engagement, you only misspoke in anger, right? He gently looked at her and said, The reason I could not come that day. She turned her head as if she understood everything. She interrupted him, Misspoke, so you have always thought that. She affirmed to him, I did get angry and disappointed, but. The sky suddenly darkened and a sudden rain fell. Her voice rang out, That was not a hasty decision. The raindrops covered her tears, her voice hoarse. That day, I stood alone in front of my father's grave and thought about many things. She stood there crying in the misty rain. She said, The same thing will happen again in the future. I can't become a priority in your life. He sadly looked at her. I can't do anything else. I am a tease, you know that. She shouted, The reason is not just that. She raised her hand to her chest and affirmed, We are no longer equal. She imagined the wedding of the two of them. She choked, If I still stay here, the woman without a penny entering the tease family. Thinking of the fingers pointing at her, the chatter around her, the woman without a penny entering the tease family, I will be criticized for being shameless. Coveting this position and always having to look at your eyes in everything. He sighed and scratched his head. All right, I understand what you are saying. He quickly found a solution. I will immediately return the Rohirn territory and Verport to you. I will help you find the building in the neighborhood that used to have your family's trade union. She asked curiously, Why are you giving me those things? He calmly replied, With that, no one can say that you live relying on me. He said, You will live righteously and ambitiously as the tease duchess. She was silent for a long time. The dog ran to her side, but her thoughts were drifting away. If the problem is the difference in circumstances, his solution is to return those circumstances. She was not very satisfied. It is too simple. He called her a little worried. Evangeline, she thought. He is still as insensitive as before. She shed tears, full of disappointment. My ambition is not the position of duchess. He looked at her in surprise. What? She remembered the image of him hugging her. In my most difficult time, you will be by my side. She frankly expressed to him, That is my only wish. She disappointedly said, It is meaningless to say it now, but. She turned away, not looking at him, as if she had really let go of something. She said, I am cleaning up my things at the annex building. When I am done, I will contact you through the manager. He reached out to stop her. Wait a minute. He asked nervously, Then what about our child? She unexpectedly looked at him and asked back, Excuse me, what are you talking about? His words were full of meaning. During this time we did not just hold hands and sleep, so, is not it? He remembered the passionate nights of the two and said, Is there a possibility that you are pregnant with my child? She calmly said, Let us say that is the case, what difference would it make? She sighed. He seemed to have found a breakthrough and kept saying, The child in your womb will guarantee your position. We do not need to argue anymore. She calmly said, Duke, even if I have a child. She said without hesitation, We will also end it. He continued to beg her, "Wait, Evangeline." He stubbornly asked, whose idea was it to call off the engagement? Suddenly the dog approached him. She raised her hand to stop it, Rex. Rex lunged forward, showing his sharp teeth. She hurriedly hugged it and reassured it. "Shoo, I am okay, Rex." He scratched his head in frustration. He said, "After a week, the debt of the O'Hara family will be resolved at the LeBaron auction. By then, I am sure you will calm down and think carefully again about this marriage." She looked up surprised at him because he was so stubborn. She resolutely said, "No, whenever, my answer will still not change." In the room, a maid respectfully said, "Should I serve you a meal, Duchess? If you do not like it, I will bring it back to you, anything if you tell me." Her voice rang out, "Then bring me a meal, just prepare it as usual." The maid replied, "I understand, Duchess." She smiled brightly, looking at the maid. Duchess, ah. She uneasily thought, it seems that DiCarlo wants to formalize this marriage at all costs. She boredly thought, but I do not. She opened the drawer of the cabinet. Is there any way? She held a carefully wrapped book and worriedly thought, can it make me give up DiCarlo? She looked at the book in her hand. The perfect method to end our engagement. The morning of a week later. Philin pointed at the map and said to DiCarlo, "This area is where the O'Hara Trade Union's ship sank. I have investigated the entire coast nearby, but did not get much. I think searching further is meaningless." He did not say anything and looked into the distance. Philin's voice rang out, attracting his attention. "Hey, are you listening to me?" He looked at Philin. "What am I doing?" "Ah," he angrily shouted. "What is what?" He had not finished being angry and said, "The day the information about Count O'Hara's disappearance was spread, I was searching for Count's traces all day according to your instructions. But you did not bother to listen to the report. What are you thinking about?" He worriedly said, "Some people say they can't find the body, but..." He interrupted him, "Philin, about that." He calmly said, "Don't you find it interesting?" He froze, looking at him surprised, and asked, "What is interesting?" He remembered the shoe covered in mud and said, "Can't find the body. Personal items were sent to Evangeline, moreover, they were very hard to find." He also felt that it was very true. That is right, a drowned corpse will swell in the water. Shoes or clothes are not easy to leave the person, but things like that were found. How ironic. He thought with a headache. I have been searching everywhere that is said to have traces but still have not found anything. How can I find the O'Hara Trade Union? He pointed to a place on the map. We have to search the black market in the nearby sea. He said, trade unions mainly trade in valuables. The items drifting from the sunken ship will definitely be transferred to the night market along with related information. This time you also try to search in that place. He said depressingly, "You should have said it sooner. I have been working hard in vain." He comforted him. "Then I know you have worked very hard. Thank you for your hard work." He tiredly replied, "Anyway, our beautiful future Duchess must be disappointed." He said, "Isn't she looking forward to news about her father, because he is her only relative?" He worriedly did not say anything. Philin's voice rang out, "I had planned to return and greet Miss properly, but at this rate, I no longer have the face to meet her anymore." While Philin was sighing, he heard his voice, after leaving the port, "When can we meet? Meet at the wedding?" He startled and sat up surprised and said, "That is right, the wedding. What is going on?" He unexpectedly asked, "When exactly is it?" He calmly replied, "Soon." He worriedly asked, "Did Miss O'Hara accept to hold the wedding in this situation?" He said, "The manager reported that it seems Evangeline has returned to the way she was before, and also said she is eating well and comfortable having everyone serve her in the bathroom. She must have realized that what I said is a practical solution." He thought a little uncomfortably, "Why do I feel so frustrated?" He was still worried and asked, "Are you okay?" He tiredly stood up and replied, "What is not okay? I am very okay. Let us stop talking here. I will get up first." Philin felt that it was not enough. "What is it? Our conversation just ends like this." He surprisingly replied, "What else is there to say? I have a schedule." His voice rang out, "No, are not you going to let me know the location and date of the wedding?" He put on his coat and calmly said, "I will tell you that later." Philin's train of thought was flying far away. What is the schedule that he wants to leave so soon? Ah, could it be? He surprisingly realized, the LeBaron auction. He said, "I heard it is quite lively at LeBaron today. Is there something good?" DiCarlo was silent for a long time. Suddenly a shout rang out, "Your Majesty." Michael gasped repeatedly and urgently said, "You need to go to LeBaron immediately." He looked at him, his face a little worried. A luxurious palace filled with brilliant golden light, LeBaron, the largest auction held by Roques 4 times a year. Countless valuable items are auctioned here. The scale of the auction is huge, such as mansions, real estate papers or disposed items. Countless people were sitting waiting under the stage, therefore, the main customers of the auction are usually big players, but today the majority in this place are creditors of the O'Hara family. Many whispers of discussion rang out. As long as the Duke Tease sells the Rodka Plains and vineyards, we will be able to receive money, right? Probably. Even in the private rooms it was no exception. What if he can't auction it? That piece of land is so large, the big players at this auction will not let go of this land. You do not need to worry about that. A girl stepped onto the stage and seriously said, I will conduct the last auction of today, excuse me. Eva appeared. She stepped up and surprisingly asked, I heard there is an auction going on here. The girl unexpectedly said, Miss O'Hara. The girl looked at Eve and politely replied, I am really sorry, I did not think you would feel comfortable in this place. The girl's voice rang out, but if you still want to stay, I will guide you to the seat reserved for Duke Tease. Eva interrupted her, no, I came to auction items. Eva asked, can you give me some time? The girl, surprised, hesitated a little. The girl quickly regained her composure and politely said, Miss O'Hara, I do not know what items you want to auction, but at Le Baron, we do not handle valuable items of young ladies. The girl said gently, for the kind of person you want, I will introduce another auction place. Now I have to introduce the Rodka Plains that the Duke has auctioned. She still resolutely said, I came because I want to auction something else. The girl broke out in a cold sweat and secretly said ungooed and said, I am sorry, but we have announced to customers that we will auction the Rodka Plains. If you want to change it, you have to offer something more valuable than the Rodka Plains. Eva tightened the paper in her hand a little hesitantly, then she lowered her hand as if she had given up something and said, I think the value of this is enough. The girl received the paper a little uneasy and thought, what exactly is this old paper? The girl opened the paper and began to read. The girl panicked and spoke incoherently, Miss, this is. She remembered that beautiful sea and said, the certificate of rights of the Mykar Sea, not only the white sand, but also including the islands off the coast. The girl was horrified to realize that she had discovered a shocking secret, a place that no one has known who owns it for many years. The owner of the largest coastline in the south is almost an unexplored land. The girl looked at Eva shocked and thought, it is Miss O'Hara. Eva said loudly, as I heard, those who are interested in the hotel or resort business, all said they wanted the Rodka Plains. She continued, the Mykar Sea is not inferior to the Rodka Plains. I think it will be very suitable for the resort business. What do you think? The girl nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Yes, it is really enough, no need for anything more. Can I understand how you possess this document? She was speaking but suddenly stopped. That matter. She remembered her beloved father. He gave her a box. Evangeline, this is your share. She looked at her father surprised and asked, what is this, father? He said lovingly, people can't foresee what will happen. It is a secret gift I give you, keep it. When you encounter a situation that you can't bear, then open it. She looked at the box in her hand. 2 years ago, the gift my father gave when I entered the Duke's family. She reached out to untie the string around the box. My father said to open it when I am cornered. Maybe my inheritance is inside. Even she was very surprised when she saw it. She said sadly, my father's legacy. She thought that was good. If I can exchange items, I will hand over the certificate of rights of the sea. She was a little dissatisfied and took back the paper and said, if you find it too difficult, I will try to go to another auction place. The girl hurriedly said, Miss, wait a minute. Eva stopped and said, I give you 3 seconds to decide. Eva stood there powerfully and said, what will you do? The girl hit the hammer hard. I would like to announce that the registration document for the Mykar Sea will be auctioned for the amount as stated. The girl's voice rang out. The winner will follow the instructions of the staff. Everyone happily said, that is great. I was very worried when I heard that the Rodka Plains would be replaced by other items. Someone unexpectedly said, I did not expect Miss O'Hara to bring an item of this size to auction. Philip said a little worriedly, that young master. She replied, let us talk about it later. She calmly replied, I will tell you after everything is over. A bald man stepped closer to the two, Miss. He held a suitcase of money in his hand and stammered, Miss, I am sorry for the mistakes that I made in the past. Philip was annoyed, his face red and flustered. These people, before that they threatened and shouted in front of the annex building. Now they have received money and are pretending to be friendly. Eva calmly replied, thank you for finding me first like this. I also have something I want to say to everyone. Her voice was sad, although not intentionally, but the truth is that my family has caused great harm to everyone. They covered their faces and cried quietly. She raised her hand to her chest and bowed, saying, taking this opportunity, I would like to apologize to everyone on behalf of my deceased father. The crowd panicked and stopped her. No, miss, do not be like this. That is right, you will become the Duchess of the Tease family. How can? She continued, from the beginning I still have many shortcomings. It is obvious that I have to apologize to everyone, and also. Her clear voice rang out in the silence of everyone. From the beginning, I still have many shortcomings. It is obvious that I have to apologize to everyone, and also. She tried to force a smile. From the beginning, I still have many shortcomings. It is obvious that I have to apologize to everyone, and also. She said, I wish you all a peaceful night. A voice rang out, I have been waiting for you for a long time, miss. The girl bowed and handed Eva a paper. This is a copy of the sales contract for the my car C that you auctioned. She calmly said, you have worked hard. The girl happily said, I will take my leave first. If you have a good item, please find me any time. Eva carefully read it thoroughly. Philip bitterly could not bear to watch Eva and said, young master, selling this you have paid off all the debts. If it is a relative then it is okay. But you do not need to bow your head in front of the investors. Eva calmly said, Philip, during this time, I received money from my father, and had a life that I did not have to envy anyone. She thought about the time when she was young and said, for those who have helped me enjoy that life, I naturally have to respect them. He seemed to have lifted a burden and said, anyway, it is lucky that everything was resolved smoothly. However, he unexpectedly looked at her and said, but I did not expect you to possess the my car C. She happily laughed out loud. Actually, I did not know either. I have been preserving what my father gave me for several years. She unconsciously thought of the box and then said, he said to open it when I encounter a crisis, so recently I opened it to see. She clenched her sleeve a little nervously. I am very happy that it protected my father's honor. Now I am really looking forward to being able to rest in peace. Time passed for a while. She happily called out, making him startled. Anyway, everything has ended. She wore a cloak and did not forget to remind him, Philip, do not forget the matter I remembered. He stammered and said yes. Remembering the auction, she happily said, if possible, I hope to see it in the newspaper tomorrow morning. Philip panicked, his whole body trembling repeatedly, and stammered, young master. She surprisingly called him, Philip, what is wrong? A voice rang out, Evangeline. She flinched worriedly and turned her head back. His whole body was sweating, his face a little red. He must have rushed here. She was startled and thought, DiCarlo. He angrily said, I heard that you changed the auction item. He suspiciously looked at the girl who was smiling in front of him and said, in the end, what do you get by doing it to this extent? She calmly said, I got myself. Now there is no father, no family, only myself left. She thought of those noble young ladies. I can endure anyone insulting me, because the insults of strangers do not affect me at all. And she thought of him, but for the person I once thought that he understood me very well, being treated like this by him. She was silent for a long time, sadly thought, my will to endure has disappeared. This will be the last time I meet this man. It is okay to say my true feelings. She said, actually, I really liked the time I was with the Duke. He looked at her with some anticipation. Maybe there was still a chance. He called her name, Evangeline. She began to tell, before I only knew how to wander around, but I felt proud when I found a place to live. Finally, there was a place I could call home. Her voice was sad. She continued to tell, before the Duke, I did not understand anything about this world, so I dreamed of a house in a fairy tale. He said a little confusedly, but I am the problem. She affirmed, no, this is also a part of it. He flinched and raised his head. He asked very unexpectedly, what? She closed her eyes, a little nervous, gently stroked her hair. She gently confessed, I used to really like you. He confusedly called her name, Evangeline. She turned away as if nothing had happened. I have said all the words I wanted to say. I am leaving now. Thank you for everything during this time. He clenched her hand. Wait a minute, are you just going to leave like this? She smiled calmly and said, yes, because to call off the engagement I directly paid off the debts in a fair manner. The Duke wants a convenient duchess, but I do not want to live like that. So we can't be together anymore. She let go of his hand, stepped away, and said, now we will remember each other through news reports. He called out to her, Evangeline, wait. It was as if a wall stood between them. He stood there silently watching her leave. She said gently, may you be at peace. He stood there alone, looking as though he had lost something incredibly important. DiCarlo could not do anything but watch Evangeline's figure disappear. Watching the small, thin back of that girl. Everyone was very surprised to read the morning newspaper, special edition, Duke Tease and Miss O'Hara. In the naval commander's palace, The teacup stopped in mid-air as Philin looked at the newspaper in his hand in surprise, saying, what is this, that chaotic situation? He was still acting like he was going to force the marriage to go through. He looked at the newspaper in disbelief. Breaking news. Duke Tease calls off engagement with Miss O'Hara. They actually broke up. 3 days after the engagement was called off, at the Naval Club. A man was bowing his head, pouring wine into a glass. A gunshot rang out, the bullet piercing the head of the mannequin. DiCarlo looked at the gun in his hand, saying with satisfaction, "This is the new model, and it feels pretty solid." Philin held his wine glass and cheerfully praised, "Indeed, it is different when it is Duke T's level. 'Cause he likes it, he even established a club just for the Navy." DiCarlo turned his head to look at him. He wondered, DiCarlo, why is he so quiet? He held a cigarette and asked, "What is it?" Philin froze, saying nothing. He looked at DiCarlo, thinking seriously. He has been feeling down ever since that day. He remembered 3 days ago. The matter between him and Eva had been made public. The engagement between Duke Tease and Miss O'Hara, which everyone had praised as perfect, had now fallen apart. Her voice seemed to echo in his ears. "I was the one who proposed calling off the engagement. I decided to support each other's futures, without any regrets." And as was obvious for the Tease family, Miss O'Hara's interview was published in the newspaper. Although it was trite and boring, it was enough to prevent the Duke Tease family, which had never been shaken, from getting involved in a scandal. Philin's voice interrupted his train of thought. He enthusiastically comforted him. "It is probably because it is the first time he has experienced something like this that he feels confused. Here, you try it too. You understand the technique of aiming at the target, right? Imagine the face of someone you hate on the target." He said coldly, "I do not need it. You go do it a lot." He said, "Don't say that." From a distance, 3 people entered the room. One of them said, "Have you two heard the news today, Kirian?" DiCarlo and Philin looked at them attentively. One of them said, "Met some woman at the hotel." The 3 of them discussed it enthusiastically. "I did not get a good look, but I heard she is a stunning beauty with platinum blonde hair." Some people even said his expression was eager, like he was about to propose. "Does he have a girlfriend?" A gunshot rang out, causing the 2 of them to jump in shock, their faces turning pale. The gun in DiCarlo's hand emitted a white puff of smoke, and the nearby mannequin had a hole right through its neck. Philin looked at him in panic. "DiCarlo." He replied, "Philin, as you said." He raised the gun, placed his finger on the trigger, and said seriously, "This gun is not bad." In a luxurious hotel, the Roke's Hotel. The door was opened. Kirian looked surprised. Eva was also very surprised to see Kirian. He said, "Eva." She smiled and raised her hand in greeting. "Kirian, long time no see." He smiled, his eyes crinkling. "I finally get to see you like this, Eva." She said, "Yes, I have always been worried about not being able to see you back then. Thank you for coming." Behind Eva, some young ladies happened to pass by. "Isn't that Miss O'Hara over there? I heard she called off her engagement a few days ago. She is already looking for a new future husband." Eva felt so embarrassed that her face turned red. He glanced at those people. They continued, "It is not an official marriage. What is the big deal?" He comforted her. "Ignore what they say, Eva." She replied calmly, as if nothing was wrong, "I am fine. People will continue to pay attention for a while. I expected it." She smiled self-deprecatingly. "Even though I rejected the position of Duchess Tease, the best marriage in the empire, I am still seen as someone eager to get married. It is funny." She thought dejectedly. "I am tired of expecting someone to share the responsibility now." He looked at her and reminded her, "Eva, sorry, quickly drink your tea, or it will get cold." He said, "I ordered what you like." She replied, "Thank you." He blushed and looked at her, saying, "When I was on the warship, I did not have time to drink a cup of tea. Getting to see you again and enjoying tea like this feels like I am dreaming." She smiled and said, "Come to think of it, becoming a Navy man was your dream for a long time. How is it?" He replied vaguely, "I do not know. It is very different from what I imagined." He remembered the training sessions on the ship. Every day was rough on the swaying ship. He happily told her about what he had experienced on the ship: physical training, shooting practice. "Until I hit the target, I could not rest. And on those tiring days, I would remember the taste of this tea." She said, "Do you remember, this tea is the same type that Duchess Chara planted at the tea farm in Addis." They both remembered their childhood. "We rushed to pick tea leaves, you got hurt and fell. When she found out, the Duchess built a huge flower garden next to father. But we could not drink the same tea as back then anymore." He said, "Instead you were very happy to see all kinds of different flowers." He blushed and looked at her gently, expressing, "I was really happy back then. I missed you so much, Eva." She looked at her reflection in the teacup and said, "That, Kirian." He interrupted her, "Actually, I am thinking about leaving the Navy." She asked in surprise, "You are thinking about the Navy?" He said, "It is not really suitable for me." He picked up a sugar cube from the tray and said, "Then what are you planning to do?" "I do not know, I will think about it later. I have already told my father and brother that I am going to quit." He dropped the sugar cube into the teacup and said with some anticipation, You only live once, so I want to live so that I won't regret it later. She was a little flustered by his words. Eva, I want our relationship to go back to how it was before. They both remembered the image from the past. Kirian said, you and I, how happy we were back then. He stirred the teacup gently and said, if it were me, I would be by your side during difficult times. I would protect you so that you would not be in danger. He confessed to her with a tense expression. Now that you are no longer engaged, I have to say this. Eva, I want to marry you. Eva sighed silently. She thought tiredly. In the end he said that. He said anxiously, you do not know how long I have been waiting for this moment. I am confident that I can do very well. But Eva thought differently. She felt resentful. Everyone knows that I am being criticized for calling off the engagement right now. But you want to marry me so you won't have any regrets. What about me? She said seriously, like the silence before a storm. Have you ever tried to think from my perspective, Kirian? She opened her eyes wide and said angrily, we can't go back to that time anymore. Kirian froze. She continued, I am planning to leave Roke's. I came here today to say goodbye to you for the last time. I hope you can have the life you want. She warned him sternly, next time we meet, I hope we can talk because the present is not the past. He said sincerely, but Eva, I am serious. Kirian was startled by her words. Kirian, you do not love me. They were both silent for a long time. She picked up her suitcase, stood up and said, it is on me today. Be careful on your way home. He said disappointedly, you were engaged to Duke Tease. Such an opportunity, can't you give it to me? He raised his head and questioned her. What is the difference between that man and me? She reached out and touched his shoulder. She said sadly, let us stop talking here. He raised his hand to his shoulder, wanting to hold her hand, but he was too late. She retracted her hand and said, that night, thank you for coming to visit me, Captain. He was silent for a long time, then said, live well. She gently brushed the hair that was blown by the wind. She thought sadly, I have lost my family, honor and friends. She remembered what DiCarno had once said. Seek the life you desire. What about you, Evangeline? Looking up at the clear blue sky full of sunshine, DiCarno's voice echoed in her ears. Is this really the life you desire? She froze, her face in disbelief, thinking, no, how could it be? I gave up everything. Her thoughts drifted away. But I have never been content with the present. At this moment, if I have to do everything alone. She thought resolutely, I will leave the place where he is. The image of DiCarno appeared in her mind. She thought, and start a new life. The light has shone on the kingdom, everything is on track, ready to operate for a new day that is coming. After leaving Duke DiCarno, Eva felt a bit lost and indescribable, but everything will be quickly forgotten, like a sun shower, coming suddenly and disappearing quickly. She was sure of it. I gave up the position as a member of the Duke's family that I thought was obvious. I do not regret it. On the contrary, I feel very relieved. She thought of her father, who was always by her side when she was young. Now, I will draw my own path forward, like the way father used to do. Eva walked forward, still feeling a bit of loss in her heart. If there is one regret, it is losing Kirian, the person I thought would be my friend for life. One of the reasons I left him was because Kirian had feelings for me. This has to be mentioned a few hours earlier at the Roke's Hotel. A blonde man came to her and greeted her. Long time no see, Evangeline. Eva was a little surprised by the appearance of this person. Here, brother. This person had a cold face, not clearly showing emotions. He heard that, after the annulment of the engagement, you were at the hotel, so it was true, and this person was Andis Rebel, Kirian's brother. Eva quickly regained her emotions. She quickly said to him, please come inside first. I also have an appointment with Kirian later. But suddenly Andis reacted a bit exaggerated. He stopped Eva with an urgent tone. No, there is no need for that. Listen clearly, Evangeline. He stood in front of Eva, his eyes looking straight down at her. Then his voice spoke gently. Kirian said that he would leave the army, and said that he would marry you in the coming time. My father fainted when he heard the news. After that, Andis stopped for a moment, then emphasized something, and at the same time his voice added a bit of sad emphasis. Evangeline, if you marry Kirian, our family will collapse. The more he spoke, the more the sadness became a threat. He looked at Eva with dissatisfied eyes. You are a smart person, you will surely understand what I am saying. Do not give Kirian false hope. Eva was completely unable to accept the information Andis had just said. She really could not believe it. Now being close to her could harm someone. The more she remembered that matter, the tighter her hands gripped her luggage. Even though she understood what Andis said, those words were enough to leave a wound in my heart. She looked around her, looking at the quiet houses, looking at the bustling city with people passing by. But in this capital there is no place for me anymore. So, suddenly at this time a voice came, "Young mistress." It turned out that the person calling her was Philip. He waved his hand to call her back. Eva happily went to him, also smiled at him. Calling the carriage was very timely, "Thank you, Philip." Philip smiled lightly, keeping the rules and answering her, "Of course, that is what I must do. But before anything, the young lady is leaving. It is rare to be able to rest." Eva held Philip's hand as he helped her into the carriage. She smiled and replied, "Why not rest a little longer? I want that too, but staying in one place does not suit me." After putting Eva in, Philip also intended to put his foot forward to get on the carriage. But suddenly, Eva from inside closed the carriage door, the implication being that she did not want him to follow her. Philip was completely surprised by this situation. So he exclaimed in shock, "Young mistress." Eva from the carriage window looked down at him, then smiled gently. "Surprising, is not it, Philip?" She took a black box out of her pocket, then wanted to give it to Philip. "Please take this first, it is a gift for you, although it is nothing special." Philip dared not delay, reaching out to receive it, also opening the box to see. Inside were countless jewels. "Eva's jewelry, young mistress. This is not the money left over after paying off the debt." "The young mistress's jewelry. Why are you giving them to me?" Eva lowered her eyes. Clearly she was reluctant to leaving him behind, but life is not a math problem with ready-made answers. There will be changes happening. Nor is it a straight line, there will be unexpected turning points. She can only do that. Eva's voice sounded softly. "Where's the after, because you have always been by my side." "Really, thank you." Philip was speechless. He must be feeling choked up when he heard this farewell. "And no, that is naturally what I must do." Philip raised his eyes to look at Eva. He knew that maybe this was the last time he would see the person he had followed for so many years. "In the future, I will also always serve the young mistress." "Please open the door for me," Eva smiled. It was an expression of helplessness. "Unfortunately, at the moment, I am not able to hire anyone anymore." She also remembered Kirian, the person she thought would be friends with her forever. Only love and admiration for a moment will not go far, even someone we have known for many years. Different ways of thinking, we will not be able to be on the same path. Philip still did not give up, speaking to ask to follow. "But young mistress," Eva looked at him, "if you do not like it, what about this?" Her eyes showed a bright determination, clearly wanting to get his trust. "I will definitely succeed and pick up Philip in the best conditions." She also did not forget to tell the person she considered her elder. Her voice full of suppressed sobs, "Until then, you must take care of your health." Finally, the carriage gradually left. The shadow of the carriage became increasingly blurred. Philip still stood there, as if he would never leave and forever. "I will wait for you, young mistress." The driver turned his head and asked Eva, "Young lady, where do you need to go? Take me there." Eva was absent-mindedly looking at the letter in her hand. She seemed to be looking at it very carefully, but she did not open it. After a while she put it down, then said, "Take me there." Before long, the sky had turned into late afternoon, the gentle orange-yellow sunlight shining on every road. On the red-tiled roofs, chimneys emitted streams of white. The green trees were also printed with a sparkling and radiant golden color. Eva stepped down from the carriage. She reached out to adjust her hair along with her clothes, and could not help but complain a little in her heart. "Sitting in the carriage for half a day makes me quite tired." She looked up at the window of a house, then told herself, "Is this the place?" The letter in her hand was taken out again to look at. Unconsciously, her face became softer, her eyes filled with sadness, bringing her soul to the distant regions of memory. "Wet nurse." The address on the wet nurse's letter: Mare District, Lessel Street No. 15, House No. 30, sent to my lovely and missed young lady Eva. She remembered herself as a child, lying in the wet nurse's arms, being held and caressed by her. "Because of following father to countries around the world, every time I was close to someone, the servants would change their attitude. The wet nurse was the only one, protecting me for 10 years. Remember when she was very young, she asked her, 'Wet nurse, are you really leaving for Mare?' At that time, the wet nurse's voice might have been reluctant or nostalgic, both caressing her and gently speaking. 'It seems the owner has told you.' She stroked Eva's head and warmly confided, 'I wanted to take care of the young lady until you debuted into high society.' At that time, Eva did not understand. Also just a child simply speaking her thoughts. 'Then you can stay until then, why are you leaving now?' At that time, she remembered that she had said, 'My daughter who lived in Mare passed away and only left a grandson. For the young lady, the Earl is the only relative, and the boy is my only relative.' She hugged Eva tightly, lifted her up and kissed her on the face. 'My lovely young lady, I will definitely send letters, do not be too sad.' After that, Eva also hugged her back and rubbed her head on her neck, as if it would be a long time later, also no longer being able to be with this person. Only seeing at that time, the wet nurse shed tears and said, 'We will meet again.' Leaving the old memories, Eva went to the main door of the house, her heart both apprehensive and rambling thoughts. The wet nurse probably only remembers me when I was young. Too worried. I do not know if visiting with this appearance of mine is too terrible. The letter said that she could come at any time. But what if she is disappointed with this changed appearance of mine? Suddenly at this time, a masculine voice full of caution from behind came. Hey, are you going in or going out? This sudden voice startled Eva. Oh my God. Who is it? This young man came, both walking and saying, seriously, I thought it was a thief. But as soon as he finished speaking, he stopped and examined Eva. With your small guts, you probably are not a thief, right? Eva might have experienced many things, but she was sure that no one had dared to say that to her like that since she was a child. A thief, how rude. The two people, like two opposing factions, looked at each other unpleasantly, as if a bomb exploded between them. In the end, Eva still broke the atmosphere full of gunpowder first. First of all, I apologize for disturbing you so late. That young man smiled. Thank you for admitting it. A moment later he spoke again. You are my young lady, right? Eva hesitated a bit. Yes. The young man scratched his head and explained, my grandmother complains every day. Is not that my famous young lady? After that, he also complained a few more sentences. I have heard about the hair and eye color about 1,000 times. If I can't remember it, I must be an idiot. Red is a rare eye color in the empire. After saying it all, he raised his hand, indicating that he wanted to get acquainted, then introduced his name first. I am Kayes. I am the wet nurse's grandson on the other side. Eva looked at Kayes' hand raised in mid-air, a little hesitant, not knowing what to do. In the end, it was still politeness. She reached out her hand. But just as she was about to shake hands to greet him, Kayes suddenly withdrew his hand, then used his quick voice again. Greeting like this with a noble young lady is not right. I made a mistake because I do not know anything. Eva quickly realized this person was flirting with her. Her eyes examined him for a while. This man does not seem to welcome me. She was a little wronged without saying clearly. Clearly today is the first time we have met. Kayes on the other side called Eva a few times. Hey, my young lady. If you came here to see my grandmother, then I do not recommend it. Eva seemed sure that this person hated her. Why, I did not come here to bother people. I am curious about news of my wet nurse. Kayes raised his hand, signaling her not to continue. I know. I said that thinking of you, miss. In the end, he still said something that felt like a knife cutting into Eva's hand. My grandmother can't remember anything anymore, so maybe she has forgotten her memories of you, miss. I do not recommend that you go see her, because my grandmother does not remember anything anymore. Later, the two people went inside. The wet nurse came out, a smile on her lips. Oh my goodness, is my miss coming to see me? Eva looked at her face, which had gained many more wrinkles, and could not help feeling sad. Wet nurse. The wet nurse grabbed her hand, smiling, and said, I never thought I would get to see you all grown, in person. After arriving in Mare, his lordship would often send portraits of you, miss. Look here. The wall was covered with her pictures, from her childhood to adulthood. The wet nurse spoke nostalgically. Every time I saw you grow up little by little, I was so proud that I had taken care of you in your childhood. Her voice became more emotional and filled with regret. Not long ago, his lordship invited me to the engagement ceremony, but I was not feeling well, so I could not go. I always felt guilty towards you. Eva quickly gripped her hand even tighter, answering softly, it is okay, wet nurse. Haven't we met again now? The wet nurse's voice still rang out steadily. Now my miss has truly become a duchess. She completely did not notice that Eva's smile had faded. The mistress of the Duke T's family. That is right. That is my miss. There is nothing she can't do. Finally, Eva still let out a breath, barely audibly. She hugged the wet nurse tightly, like in her childhood, completely in her arms. It was just that now, she was much bigger, no longer small, and the wet nurse could not fully embrace her. She covered her pained face, saying slowly, wet nurse is right. I can do anything, right? The wet nurse was so happy that her arms around her tightened a little. My miss is really. At this time, the wet nurse suddenly said something that made her realize how cruel reality was. But you look like an adult now. When did you grow up so much? Eva let go of her, a visible look of confusion in her eyes. The wet nurse was still continuing. It seems like you followed his lordship to the harbor during the day. Today your dress is all wrinkled too. As the wet nurse spoke, her voice was both sad and nostalgic. Miss would often pretend not to know, every time you secretly ran out to the harbor. In the end, only the wet nurse's voice echoed in the space, ringing in Eva's ears like a light feather. But this wet nurse knows everything. That is right, you can't fool the wet nurse. Time passed just like that, and evening came very quickly. As soon as she entered, she was questioned by Kayes. So, have you confided in grandmother yet? She really wanted to ask this person a few things about the wet nurse. Kayes knew what she wanted to ask, so he quickly answered. Grandmother has had amnesia for a few years now, but she occasionally becomes lucid. When she met you, was she lucid? Eva just hummed softly. Next, Kayes brought a chair for her, telling her to sit down. As soon as Eva sat down, she asked him, after the wet nurse got sick, did you find it difficult? Kayes just shook his head. No, I just hope she can live happily in her own way. Thanks to that, I felt that she was particularly happy today. After that, he looked at Eva, then said slowly, more importantly, I apologize for earlier. Eva was a little unaccustomed to this situation. Why, Kayes explained, I asked you, miss, to be careful with your words. He told Eva earnestly, bit by bit, and carefully instructed her. Grandmother still does not know that his lordship is missing, and that you, miss, have called off the engagement. You absolutely must not say those things. Seeing that it still was not enough, he added another sentence. It is not that I am afraid you will harm grandmother. He mentioned the old times again, remembering how happy she was when she saw her in the paintings. While living with me, she always mentioned you, miss. Kayes's voice was full of concern for his grandmother. But if I let her know that the Earl had an accident, or that you, miss, called off the engagement, even without those things, I am afraid her condition will worsen. Eva naturally understood this, and quickly nodded in agreement. Yes, I understand. Because I did not come here to make her worry. Kayes spoke again, this time the topic changed. Seemed that he really liked changing topics quickly. But miss, are you eating properly? He looked at her scrutinizingly while drinking water. If you faint, my grandmother will be in a mess. 'Cause she loves you very much. So please take care of yourself, miss. These words were said from the bottom of his heart. Eva also felt it, so she quickly said, thank you for your concern. Seeing that there was still someone who cared about her, she felt comforted. Kayes still wanted to say something else. The matter is that But Eva probably understood Kayes's hesitation, so she stepped forward and said first, I am sorry if I surprised you. I've been through too much, so I am more sensitive than before. She said to Kayes slowly, staying any longer will cause trouble for everyone. I have to go. Kayes still had not digested her words. Going, it was a little sudden. Eva spoke while standing up and packing her luggage, really wanting to leave right now. Yes, I originally came here to see my wet nurse. I had something I wanted to say when I met her again, but it seems that the situation does not allow it. Finally, before leaving, she still said to him, I am sorry for coming here without informing you. But it seemed that Kayes was only now reacting. He spoke, wanting to keep her. No, wait. He said all his feelings, if you leave like this, miss, grandmother will scold me. Until you find a place to stay, please stay here for a few days. Eva panicked a little. Actually, she had not thought that deeply. No, I do not mean that. Kayes reached out and took her luggage, definitely not wanting to let go. It seemed that he was forcing her to stay for a few days. There are still empty rooms in the house, so it is okay. He carried the suitcase upstairs to the second floor, conveniently informing her, I will prepare a room on the second floor. All his actions were very decisive, and he instructed Eva to reassure her, I won't go up to the second floor tomorrow, so you can use it freely. Eva panicked a little, but quickly accepted this person's intentions. She smiled gently, thank you. At this time the scene shifted elsewhere. The T's family butler was putting letters on the table. He heard the sound of someone entering, so he turned around. Seeing that the person who came was DiCarlo, he quickly greeted him, Your Excellency. He raised his hand, making a gesture according to the rules, then spoke, I was waiting for you. There are quite a few things that require your opinion when replying. On the table were the letters that he had just brought. These are invitations to banquets. It is currently the main social season in high society. These are invitations that have been maintained for many generations, so it is very difficult for me to refuse. DiCarlo's face showed no joy at all, and could even be said to be gloomy. He felt a little headache. I just called off the engagement, and the invitations are already pouring in. They do not even bother to hide their intentions. DiCarlo thought to himself about those big-shot merchants. In addition, there are letters from the branch families. In the end, he still told the butler one thing, that read the letters to me, butler. The butler quickly grabbed the first letter in his hand, then read it aloud. The weather will be good soon, and merchant ships will begin to travel back and forth. Seems they want to do something. And there is a message saying they want to do something to help the Duke's family. DiCarlo really wanted to laugh, actually wanting to despise these people. Not doing anything is already helping. Why do not they think that? He turned around, not wanting to hear any more of these false words. Burn all the letters. But suddenly a letter fell into his line of sight, making DiCarlo pay attention. He immediately spoke. Wait, who sent that letter? There is no symbol or decoration at all. The butler also picked it up and examined it. This. He read the writing in the letter. It is a letter from Miss O'Hara. Hearing her name, DiCarlo immediately told the butler, "Give it to me." As soon as he opened the letter, DiCarlo could imagine her appearance when she wrote this letter. Duke Tease, I am sorry to say goodbye this way. Although there were many difficulties, I do not regret the time we spent together. I do not hate or resent you at all. Please see this cancellation of the engagement as my ambition. DiCarlo sat in his chair, his hand gripping the letter even tighter. What I can do at this time is to quickly forget you. Even if it is just for one day, I am in a place very far from the Duke Tease family. I want to start a new life. I hope that your family will become more glorious and prosperous. Eva's appearance, her figure, seemed to appear before DiCarlo's eyes, making him feel some regret. Evangeline O'Hara. Looking at this line, these beautiful words, made DiCarlo's mood indescribable. He held his forehead. There really is a sense of suffocation in the depths of my heart. DiCarlo looked up and saw that the butler still had a letter that looked the same, so he asked, "There is another letter of the same color, also left by that woman?" The butler opened it and confirmed, "Yes, but this letter is not for your excellency, but for Rex in the auxiliary building, with a message requesting that it be read in front of Rex." DiCarlo rubbed his forehead with a headache, also wanting to take that letter as well. "Give it to me now." Those beautiful words reappeared. The words full of love for Rex were also written very warmly. "Sent to Rex, my little one and eternal companion, forever loving and remembering." Seeing the inside of the letter, the butler felt some unspeakable emotion. It is 3 times longer than the letter sent to the Duke. After reading the letter, DiCarlo officially collapsed, not because of sadness from separation, but because of disappointment and uncomfortable suffocation. Evangeline. You. Am I just that kind of person? At this time, at a house in Mare Port, Eva, the girl who was giving Duke Tease a headache, was sitting and enjoying tea by the window. Cayes came to her side, then said, "Come to think of it, why did you come to see my grandmother, miss? Didn't you say you had something to talk about?" Eva turned her head to look at him, then gently continued, Actually, I have something I want to ask my wet nurse." Cayes took the tea and drank it, conveniently asking her about the matter. "What is it? Now that you have mentioned it, just say it freely." Eva looked at the teacup in her hand, wanting to say something, but hesitating for a moment. After that, she said with a somewhat forced smile, "I am curious about the whereabouts of my divorced mother." Saying this was truly shocking. Cayes immediately spat the tea he had just drunk out of his mouth. Seeing that he had been rude, he pretended to cough a few times, regained his usual expression, then continued, "I am sorry, maybe I asked a question I should not have." But Eva still maintained her smile. "It is okay." She looked in another direction, probably taking her thoughts far away again. "It is just that I am curious about what kind of person she is. I do not have any memories of my mother, but I think maybe my wet nurse, who served our family for many years, would know her. She remembered herself as a child. Thanks to the love from her father when she was young, she never felt that she lacked a mother. But that day, on a very ordinary day, the small Eva went to her father and asked, "Father, how is a child born without a mother?" The innocent curiosity of a child often appears without warning. She only saw her father bend down, calling her name in a low tone, "Evangeline." At that time, she remembered very clearly, perhaps she still remembers it until now, the expression on her father's face. "So, I can't ask about my mother. When I grew up a little, I vaguely heard a story. Not long after I was born, my mother divorced my father and left alone." Mentioning this, Cayes was a little curious and spoke up, "Why are you curious about news of your mother now?" Eva lowered her eyelashes. She was really confused. "I do not know." The image of that day, DiCarlo telling her everything. Hearing his words suddenly made me curious. Assuming I have a child, even though I am not pregnant yet, I already have the intention of protecting the child. How could my mother leave me like that? She was immersed in her own thoughts. I do not need to say things like this. In the end, she still chose not to tell Cayes the truth, for no particular reason. She looked out at the sea. "I just want to know if there is anyone left with the same bloodline after my father is gone. I am not the main character in a fairy tale, and I do not expect anything great to happen, but I am sorry." Cayes spoke again at this time, breaking Eva's autobiography. "Among the people I have met, You are the most like the main character in a fairy tale. But Kayes's brain cells seemed to be limited, so he did not get too sentimental before returning to his true nature. Come to think of it, I rarely read fairy tales. It is just a feeling. This made Eva laugh happily. A smile that she probably had not had for a long time. What are you saying? Kayes also smiled with her unconsciously. Time passed again, and the sun had risen high. Eva and Kayes went out for a walk around here. Kayes, who had been silent for a long time, now spoke. Anyway, it is difficult for you to get the answer you want, because my grandmother's memory changes erratically. However, Eva felt that it was enough. Seeing the wet nurse is enough for me, so it is okay. Mentioning her, she began to worry again. More importantly, the wet nurse's illness. Why do not you take the wet nurse to a big hospital in the capital? Maybe there is still hope. Kayes had also tried, but he had left it up to fate. If it were another disease, I would not say anything, but this is age-related dementia. There is nothing that can be done. It is better to let her live comfortably every day. That is what the doctor said. Eva still insisted that he had to try, but it is a doctor in the countryside. If you listen to advice from other doctors, maybe. Unexpectedly, the next second, this person did not know what was wrong and suddenly burst out laughing. He even sincerely introduced himself in a solemn way. I am that country doctor. I am the country doctor in Mare, and I am treating my grandmother. This was completely beyond imagination, so Eva was still dazed. The sight of her being so dazed made Kayes very happy, laughing even louder. After laughing to his heart's content, he exposed his pretense. You are thinking, how can such an impolite person be a doctor, right? Eva was turned around like a top. Now she was being asked like that. She quickly denied, no, I did not. Kayes acted generously, continuing to walk while rambling. It is okay if you did not, but you have such suspicious eyes. Eva turned around and walked away irritably, explaining a bit. Kayes, you are mistaken. Kayes did not want to give up, still asking, tell the truth, my miss, do not call me that. After arriving at Mare Port, Eva said to Kayes, I will go sightseeing at the port. Kayes, you go do your work too. At this time, a carriage suddenly moved quickly towards them from out of nowhere. Eva did not seem to sense the danger. Hearing Kayes call out miss, she thought he was still joking, turning around to tell him to stop. Kayes, stop playing around. The next second, she was pulled closer by Kayes. Eva screamed in fright. Fortunately, the carriage did not hit them. Kayes was still holding Eva in his arms, watching the carriage go away, then turned back to tease her. I guess this time I called you careful too much. Half a minute passed before they realized that their standing posture was a little ambiguous. They immediately let go of each other a little, and an awkward atmosphere surrounded them. It looked very silly. Thank you. Kayes was embarrassed. I should say that I was rude. The seaport was very crowded at this time, and everyone was busy. In the end, Kayes still went with her. The two of them looked outside. There are a lot of people. Yes, because the wind changed direction. Many ships have stopped here. At this time, Kayes suddenly remembered something. Ernio's merchant ship has also stopped there. Eva's eyes widened. The little one who does not understand often asks about it. She was the same. Isn't Ernio a place where we exchange with other countries? Kayes nodded in agreement, explaining, yes, before, even if merchant ships came, they would not even glance at them. But this time I do not know why, they came themselves first. But when they came, they just glanced at the coast once and then left. Because of that, I do not expect much this time. The two of them looked at the merchants who were shouting wildly. The whole village was in chaos, and his grandmother did not know when she would remember. If you want to do something here, you have to wait for the situation to be resolved. Later, Kayes turned to ask Eva, over time, is there anything you want to do? Eva hesitated for a long time, finally saying a sentence, I want to make money, I have to eat to live. Kayes did not know why, but seeing this appearance of hers, he was also a little moved. At the same time, at the royal banquet, the gentle petal-like voice of a girl rang out, Your Excellency, does the food suit your taste? This was asking Dicarno. The one who just spoke was Her Highness the Princess. The princess came forward, continuing what she had just said. I paid attention to them, hoping that I could help the Duke feel comfortable. Look over there. These are the animals that Governor Addis sent as gifts. She said, looking at the two foxes in front of her. The son, also the heir, brought them here in place of his father. At this time, she just happened to mention Rex, only wanting to find a topic to talk to Dicarno about. The Duke also has a lion dog that was brought back from the north, right? If the Duke likes dogs, but before the words could be finished, Dicarno, not knowing why, was in a bad mood and interrupted. I am sorry, Princess, I do not really like dogs. His tone now had to be said to be extremely gloomy. Even less lion dogs. Bellona originally wanted to chat with this person, but instead received the cold shoulder. She was a little uncomfortable, yes. At this time, King Aiden's voice rang out. It is a little cold, Duke Tease. It has been a long time since we have met, relax a little. Seeing the person who came, Dicarno bowed and saluted. Emperor, your majesty. Aiden felt that such a greeting was too distant. There is no need to greet between us. More importantly, I have 2 young men I want to introduce, so I brought them here to greet you. He introduced the first person. This is Andis, the eldest son of Earl Rebel from Addis, and, for some reason, Dicarno's expression suddenly turned gloomy. When he looked at the person behind Andis, the second son, Mr. Kirian. The 2 brothers Andis stood solemnly, waiting for Aiden to finish speaking. After that, Aiden stepped forward and introduced, It is an honor to meet you. I am Andis of the Rebel family. Because our father often told us about the Duke Tease family, I have always been looking forward to meeting you directly. While his brother was speaking, Kirian kept staring at Dicarno. And Dicarno was the same. Is that so? The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Seeing that the situation was too tense, Aiden came forward again to break the ice. Come on, do not act so stiff. Look at this snake. I do not know when it climbed onto my body. The black snake came out of Aiden's hand, showing its heart-shaped tongue to everyone. Thanks to Mr. Andis, I can see these rare animals. I am very happy. Andis also smiled happily. Thank you, your majesty. Still returning to the main topic, Aiden said, so, this time I am thinking of giving Mr. Andis a position. According to what I heard, Mr. Andis used to manage the port when he was in Addis. I wonder how the job of supervising the west coast here is. Let us see, the western region has Phillos and Tenor. Also Mayor. I do not know if it was because he touched a sore spot. As soon as he heard the word Mayor, Dicarno's people immediately stiffened. Michael's voice when reporting to him still rang in his ears. Miss O'Hara is living in Mare, and has come to a small town in western Mare. It seems the wet nurse who took care of her as a child lives here. For some reason, Dicarno suddenly thought of the scene of Eva standing with her face turned to the sea. Merha. The emperor was playing with a snake while answering, that is right. Isn't that a good thing for the Duke, if you hand over the job of supervision to Mr. Undis? The Duke's workload in the upper house will also be reduced. Dicarno's personality had always been straightforward, so he was not afraid of clashes. Let us see, secretly following and interfering seems very suitable for you. These words shocked Andis a little, but the emperor continued, well, the job of supervision is like that anyway. Dicarno turned to leave. Greetings are probably enough. I will take my leave first. The princess saw Dicarno leave, wanting to keep him. Hey, Duke Tease. But Aiden immediately stopped her. Bellona, it is better if you do not follow him. Bellona could not talk to her crush, immediately turning to nag and scold her brother. You are really, His Excellency the Duke has come here, why do you keep interfering? Aiden was used to hearing it, reaching out to pick his ear and saying, just looking at him I can tell he is not in a good mood. Bellona seemed about to cry. She choked, if it is not now, when will it be? Aiden said quietly, too noisy. Dicarno left the group of emperors, seeming not wanting to linger any longer, and went straight back. Michael was standing and waiting outside. Seeing his master coming, he called out, you are back so early. Dicarno put on his coat and replied, is there a reason to stay longer? Michael panicked a little and advised, even so, this is a royal banquet. This time, suddenly a teenage voice called him back, Your Excellency. Dicarno turned around to look. Sure enough, he is following me. The captain has something to say to me. Kirian stepped forward with a determined face. Yes, seeing Your Excellency, I have a few words to say about your attitude. This kid just wants to get back justice for his family. Very meaningful. I know Your Excellency regrets this with me, but because of my personal grudges you offended my father and brother. I think this is not right. These words surprised the other two a little. Dicarno stood still and asked, so what do you want to say? Kirian replied slowly, please apologize. Unexpectedly, Dicarno showed an even more disgusted expression, apologize. Kirian still tried to maintain the most correct appearance, Your Excellency. Dicarno stepped forward and said, what if I also have a personal grudge with your brother? Kirian also began to show his dislike on the outside. Don't go too far. This is the first time my brother has met you today. Couldn't it be that during the conversation just now, you felt emotionally hurt? At this time, Dicarno took out a cigarette, lit it, and asked, after returning to the capital, what did your talented brother do? Dicarno's eyes became gloomy, observing Kirian. It seems you do not know anything. He reached out and patted Kirian's shoulder, before daring to ask me to apologize. Then his hand used more force to clutch on. Dicarno's voice, which was usually very deep, was now even colder. Why do not you go to Evangeline and hear what your brother said? Kirian now realized the problem. He asked in confusion, my brother went to find Eva, when exactly? He was a little sad, but more than that was hope. Could it be because of that Eva pushed me away? Seeing his expectant appearance, DiCarlo continued, don't misunderstand, even if your brother did not come first, Evangeline would definitely reject you. But being attacked in succession like this, he still struggled to reply. It seems your excellency thinks you understand Eva very well. Sure enough, these words caused DiCarlo's expression to change. What? Kirian curled his lips in a triumphant smile. After so many years of reunion, I can understand her sadness. But your excellency, you can't understand at all. DiCarlo did not want to lose and continued to ask, so what? But his aura had been there since he was a child. These words seemed to only shake him for a moment. Saying these words, does your pain of unrequited love lessen? Kirian wanted to retort, you. At this time he suddenly heard the sound of his name being called, Kirian. In the crowd, Andis was looking for him. Where did this kid go? Because he did not want his brother to worry. He could only swallow this anger and leave. Looking at his leaving figure, very interesting. Michael had taken everything into his eyes from beginning to end. He spoke angrily, just a captain, how can he act so rudely? I will immediately report to Mr. Palayon and discipline him. But it seemed that DiCarlo did not want that very much. No need, let it go. In his heart there seemed to be some plan. Turning around, let us go too. The carriage quickly set off, leaving the palace. On the carriage, DiCarlo lowered his eyes, lost in thought. In the end, what are you doing to achieve? Remembering Eva's voice full of nothingness earlier myself. She stood in front of him, her voice light as falling flowers. I lost my father, and no longer have a family. The only thing left is myself. DiCarlo clenched his hand, repeating the girl's name, Evangeline. Tease is your family, and the day I become your family is not far away, is not it? Even so, you still chose to leave. Looking at the busy traffic outside, DiCarlo asked himself, so, Evangeline, are you satisfied with your life in Mare? Finally, he made the key decision to solve the questions that continue to appear in this mind, besides personally confirming, I have no other way. And Eva at this time was on the beach with Kayes. Kayes called her loudly Miss. His voice grew louder and louder, Miss Evangeline. And Eva at this time was washing dishes inside the house. She turned her head when she realized that Kayes had entered here. He put down a rather heavy trunk, creating a very loud noise. His face seemed to carry dissatisfaction. Seriously, you really are a different kind of miss. Here your stuff. Eva smiled beautifully. She looked at Kayes, then praised, sure enough it is Kayes. Not difficult, right? Kayes cursed angrily, this person. He just remembered the appearance of her begging him earlier. Can you help me sell this jewelry? He was angry and cursing non-stop. Who would ask a man they just met to sell jewelry for them? Do you know how shocked I was? What if I sold it all and ran away? Eva did not waver at all. She said logically, there is no reason for Kayes to leave his wet nurse behind and run away, or else I must have misjudged you. Kayes opened the trunk and said helplessly, I would rather you did not say that. Well, you come and check this money. He also explained a little more carefully, I sold it at a slightly higher price than the market price, but the problem is, everyone thought I was stealing. Eva unexpectedly wanted to laugh. Oh my gosh, really? At this time she said her reasoning, why ask you for help? If an outsider like me suddenly went out to sell jewelry, I would definitely be looked at with suspicion. She still smiled very beautifully and thanked him. Thanks to that, I was able to arrange the money so smoothly. Thank you very much. Kayes could not hide his curiosity any longer and asked directly, what are you planning to do with this large sum of money? Responding to him was another smile from Eva. I have a plan already. Later on the beach, Kayes approached Eva and spoke, Miss. Eva was holding beautiful purple flowers in her hand. She turned around to look at him. Didn't you say you wanted to make money? Why do you spend the whole day strolling on the beach and picking flowers? She quickly explained to this fool, because I have to prepare the goods before I can do business. Kayes vaguely realized a little. You are saying those flowers are the goods. It was just that. He still had to tell the truth to stop her from daydreaming. I am sorry to say this, but those flowers can't be sold. It is karnak, a flower that only blooms on the beach. Compared to other easily obtained things, it has no use. Kayes's tone was getting more and more contemptuous of the flower. This flower is not beautiful, and can't be used as medicine. People even call it the odorless flower of the underworld. Sincerely wanting to advise this person who was about to start a business one time, so, Miss, try to find other goods. But what responded to him was Eva's smile. She kept smiling like that, making Kayes not understand. Miss, why are you smiling? After that, Eva laughed while explaining, don't worry, it is not for sale. Is that so? Sure enough. After that, before the words were finished, he received even more shocking news. I am going to buy it. Well, Kayes was directly hit a few times like lightning striking his ears. A few days later, at the wet nurse's house, Eva handed gold to the seller saying, calculating each kilo at 1 gold. I am buying a total of 5 gold. The seller happily held the money in his hand, as if he had struck it rich, affectionately thanking her. Thank you, you really bought all the karnak, thank you very much. Eva also smiled in response. I am the one who should be thanking you. If you pick flowers, come and sell them to me, okay, of course. Kayes, sitting behind, looked confused. He came forward wanting to ask Eva again, Miss, why are you spending money to collect karnak flowers? He really wanted to advise her to give up. Do you really think it is a business item? Who would buy such a common flower? Eva deliberately turned around and said to him, this is the kind of flower. For Urnio. She explained a little more clearly to Kayes. Purple is the symbolic color of the Urnio state religion. This weekend, the biggest event of the year will be held at the temple. Grand decorations are indispensable in such an event. They will need purple flowers similar to the symbolic color of the religion. Kayes also understood a little bit. He put his hand on his chin, thinking, but karnak flowers are everywhere on the beach. Will they come to Mare to buy flowers? Eva looked very sure. Of course, my father said that the sea level started rising 10 years ago. Presumably now, half of the coast of the island nation of Urnio has been flooded. She was collecting these purple flowers, while continuing to speak to Kayes. In such a situation, what is the reason why the Urnio people came to Mare this time just to stroll around the coast and leave? Kayes finally realized the shocking truth. He suddenly blurted out to find karnak flowers, a flower that is now difficult to find on their island. Kayes was a little flustered, whispering, if that is the case, then you are rich, miss. She put her hat on her head, wanting to go out. Then, she held the prepared documents in her hand. She smiled happily and said, full of excitement, if I complete the final procedure. That night, Mare Town Hall. Kayes went with her here. He looked at the electric tower in front of him, having a slightly bad premonition. Isn't it too late to find the government agency now? Eva, standing next to him, spoke, to participate in the dawn market tomorrow. I need the permission of the government agency. I heard that you only need to register today. She pulled her hat down, covering half of her face, saying, let us go in. Kayes continued to look at her curiously. Is it necessary to wear that hat? She turned to smile at him, then replied, before I get a spot, it is better if no one knows about me. At this time, she noticed the cloth hanging in front of the town hall, the seal of the upper house. Mare Town Hall is under the jurisdiction of the upper house. In her heart, she felt a little uneasy, and also worried. I have deliberately gone far away from the capital, but every time I see things related to that person, I am shaken. She was walking and reassuring herself, it is okay, Dicarno is involved in many things, it is natural that the upper house seal is everywhere, do not worry and just live your life. She was walking and could not help but smile. It was the smile of fulfillment, happiness that she had lost. I do not know how long it has been since things have gone so smoothly. Now that I have a small stall in front of the port then. As soon as she entered, she heard inside the voices of several merchants angrily ringing out. The deadline, what are you talking about? Inside there was an argument. The merchant said, you said we could register until tonight. Suddenly a VIP came, so we ended early. And the street stalls are already full. These people all felt that it was unfair and did not want to leave. No way, so fast, let me talk to the mayor directly. At this time, suddenly the subordinate said, you came at the right time. Eva turned around, her face immediately sinking. Following behind the mayor was Dicarno, the person she did not want to see. Why is that person here? Kayes did not know the relationship between them, so at this time he wanted to go out with Eva to see. Miss, let us go there and see what the situation is like. But Eva suddenly turned around and said, no, let us go back first today. Kayes saw her nervous appearance, asking a little confused, but he still followed her. Yes, you have come all the way here, miss. Eva was walking too fast. Kayes was chasing after her and calling, Miss, wait. The mayor at this time turned around, feeling a little uneasy, said to Dicarno, I am sorry for this commotion, Your Excellency. It is the time to arrange the location for the market at the port. So everyone is quite tense. Dicarno did not seem to care much, and replied, it is okay, continue. After that, without beginning or end, he said, because from now on, things will start to be interesting. While running away, Eva accidentally dropped her hat, but she still did not want to go back to pick it up, so it still lay quietly on the ground. Dicarno silently looked at the way Eva went, not knowing what plans he had in his heart. Eva's hat fell on the ground, lying quietly in the sun. That night, at the wet nurse's house, Eva sat by the tea table, with a cup of tea next to her, which Kayes had brought. Kayes stared at the teacup from when it was hot until there was no more steam rising, asking Eva, "The tea is cold, should I brew a new cup?" Eva sat curled up, holding her legs with both hands, seemingly worried. Seeing that she was being called, she replied, "Ah, no need." Then added with a smile, "I am okay." The smile on Eva's lips was clearly forced, smiling for a while before freezing. Kayes keenly realized this and did not beat around the bush, telling her directly, "If you are too tired, do not endure it, just cry it out." Eva was startled by these words. "What?" Kayes poured a new cup of tea for her and said softly, "I mean, just stay here comfortably." At this time, Eva relaxed a little, her face carrying a faint sadness, then spoke softly, "Thank you for not asking me anything." Kayes corrected her, "There is a lot more to thank for." He turned away, "Everyone has their own circumstances." Kayes took a coat and put it on, seemingly wanting to go somewhere, conveniently leaving a few words of instruction for Eva. "You rest, those flowers were hard to buy. And it would be a waste to leave them there. Small is fine, I will go see if there is still a place to set up a stall to sell." Eva stood up, immediately wanting to follow Kayes out. "If so, I will go with you," but with a stern tone, Kayes flatly refused her. "No, you stay home, miss." He was like a stern older brother, reminding his younger sister about her health. "It is a doctor's order, you can't disobey." After reminding her, Kayes left. Eva sat back down on the chair. At this time, she really returned to her original appearance, lowering her head and sorting out what had just happened. "Dicarno, why is he in Mare?" As soon as I saw him, my mood became heavy. The scene of panic at that time, she still remembered clearly. Her mind was empty, and only knew to run away. Eva felt like a swallow trapped in a cage. Every day her actions were stared at by others. Trying my best, living my life to the fullest in the present, is not anything to be ashamed of. Eva's mood at this time was feeling very disoriented, lost. Perhaps this emotion is not stable, so I am like this. She decided to stand up and work, because sitting still and doing nothing makes me think wildly. I will sort out the flowers. Suddenly there was a knock on the door at the right time. Eva was a little nervous, maybe it was because she had overthought. Who would be knocking at this hour? She walked to the door while asking loudly, "Kayes, is that you?" As soon as the door opened, she continued, "Did you forget something?" But unexpectedly, the person she did not want to see the most at this time appeared at the door. Eva started to panic, her eyebrows furrowed, asking with a lack of confidence, "Your Excellency, why are you here?" Dicarno certainly was not happy to see Eva panicking when she saw him. He did not answer her question, but asked another question. "That look on your face looks like you have seen a ghost. I'm looking for you, are you so surprised or?" Speaking to this point, he paused for a moment, then looked at her with mournful eyes. "It seems you are waiting for someone else." Eva completely did not want to stay and talk to this person any longer, so she wanted to send him away. "If you came to mock me, then please leave." Unexpectedly, Dicarno did not care about her attitude, but only wanted to remind her, after finishing things in Mare, "Go back." Eva refused. "No, I will stay here." Her eyes turned to the flowers behind her, and asked, "Do you see the flowers behind me?" Her eyes turned back to face Dicarno with determination. "I have to sell them all. As the heir to the Okara Trading Company, I plan to continue my father's path of business." Dicarno looked at her with a helpless expression. "You are going to sell flowers?" Eva nodded frankly. "Yes, today I also went to the town hall to get a permit to open a stall at the market in the morning." The space fell silent again. The two only looked at each other without saying a word. In the end, Dicarno turned his face in another direction, his voice carrying regret and persistence. "I do not understand, why are you in this place at all? You left me to come to this remote place." Eva's heart was beating very fast, proving that she was very nervous. Dicarno continued, "Just to maintain a livelihood. Do you really think it is good to live like this?" Dicarno's words came sincerely from what he thought, but Eva did not hear a word, and replied indifferently, "Yes, it is good." She used a cold expression like a sword, every word piercing straight to Dicarno's heart. "Better than living in that house with you." But when talking about other people, Eva's voice suddenly became gentle, like the spring breeze blowing by. "The people here recognize my true self." The faces of each person appeared in her mind. Kayes, the landlady, everyone here. There is no need to put on a fake expression, or wear a gorgeous necklace to prove it. She again remembered those days like being locked in a cage, feeling terrifyingly suffocated. Then finally she said coldly to him, "The Duke and I are now just people from two different worlds." The words she wanted to say were finally said. Eva decisively turned to send the guest away. "So, please leave, I still have to take care of the flowers." But Dicarno could not accept it. He quickly grabbed her hand. Eva repeated in a strong tone. Dicarno, I said leave. He pulled her closer to him, giving a request in a harmonious tone. It is okay if it is late. I will wait for you at the town hall from before. Eva angrily threw Dicarno's hand away. Why do I have to meet you there? Dicarno replied with a calm and composed expression. You said you had to sell flowers, did not you? In the end, before leaving, Dicarno's eyes were still determined. He would definitely wait for Eva there until she came. You are pursuing what you want, so there is no reason not to be able to endure someone like me. Later, the moon had risen high. It seemed that it was no longer early. Calles opened the door and went inside. I am back. As soon as he entered, he began to tell Eva about the situation. I found out, there is no more place to open a stall. It seems the market manager has taken money and sold the spots in advance. Calles walked to Eva and continued, so people who do not know anything like us have been one step late. Eva nodded in agreement. Sure enough, it is like that. Calles could not help but sigh. I still know that things in life are like that, but this time it is too much. At this time, he noticed that Eva was wearing a coat. Miss, are you planning to go out at this hour? Eva was a little unnatural, speaking while going to the door. Yeah, because I have to start trading tomorrow. Calles did not know what had happened when he left, only thinking that Eva was really going out because of the flower business. So he reminded her, are you planning to use money to get a spot that another seller has bribed for? Don't, it won't work without a lot of money. Eva had put her hand on the doorknob, and only replied no. After that, her face became determined, but also had helplessness. I will use another method. At this time it was really no longer early outside. Inside the town hall, the mayor of Mareport was still standing still in one place. Dicarno spoke. I said you can leave. The mayor still wanted to stay. Your Excellency. How can you say that? Your Excellency is present here. But as the mayor, should not I protect my position? Responding to him was Dicarno's back. The mayor was confused in his heart for a long time. It is strange, I heard that the son of Earl Rebel will take office as an inspector. Why is Duke Tease here? Looking at the clock that was about to reach midnight. But Dicarno still had no intention of leaving. This is very strange. Does he have something to do at the town hall? He still does not want to leave at this hour. I thought Tease was just an amateur, so I did not care. I did not expect to bring trouble on myself like this. Thinking wildly, suddenly Dicarno's deep voice rang out. You also used words skillfully, hoping I would leave soon, huh? The mayor shuddered, stammering, no, how could I do that? Because I saw your Excellency personally coming from afar. I felt energized, so that is why. And I am worried that you might not be happy with the merchants coming here. Hearing this, Dicarno suddenly fell silent, thinking about something else. The image of Eva from the afternoon was still lingering in his memory. Do you see the flowers behind me? I have to sell them all. Again remembering himself having vaguely said to Eva about wanting to meet. It is okay if it is late. I will wait for you at the town hall. Dicarno frowned very deeply, really unable to understand what Eva was thinking. If she needs a place to sell flowers, she just needs to find me, the problem will be solved. After that, he looked at the town hall door that was still tightly closed, a feeling of indescribable discomfort arising in his heart. In the end, she stubbornly refuses to accept help from me. The image of Eva at the ceremony in the afternoon. She was beautiful and noble, standing among the common people. When I saw you in this ordinary port city, I could not help but laugh. Then again to her appearance when she saw him, quickly turning away. Finally, running far away again, leaving behind her beautiful floppy hat. Did you think that by wearing that hat I would not recognize you? At that time Eva certainly did not know, and until now you still have not realized how much attention I attract. In Dicarno's head at this hour were the days before, a bit of disorientation, deadlock, along with longing for Eva. I have no reason to pursue Evangeline. After leaving me, how is she now? Is she living well? Then after that he realized these questions are just instincts. From the desire to personally confirm that is right, there is nothing else. He had stubbornly thought so, but the image of Calles happily waving to Eva and saying, I am back. Then to the gentle appearance of him reminding her, you rest well, miss. His figure as he left in the sunlight, all was taken into Dicarno's eyes. He gritted his teeth, his face contorted hideously. Dicarno's relaxed hands began to clench tightly. Who is that man? The appearance of the two of them together is a thorn in my eye. She is relying on a man she has only known for less than a month, more than me, the person she once promised to marry. At this time, the clock also struck past midnight, and the alarm rang. The mayor was still standing behind him, unable to wait any longer at this time. He mustered the courage to speak. Your Excellency, it is midnight, let us go back. I have prepared a hotel near the sea for you. Dicarno still stood like a statue, saying indifferently, yeah. The mayor asked again, "Are you leaving now? I will take you all the way there." But Dicarno cut him off. "Don't you still have work to do?" The meaning of chasing people away was clear. The mayor only dared to answer with one word, "Yes," and then left. Dicarno spoke again at this time, also changing the topic. "There are quite a lot of documents left over from the day." The mayor cleverly caught Dicarno's rhythm. He quickly replied, "Ah, you mean the matter of arranging positions for the stalls. I have already finished this work early." He also smiled happily, as if wanting to ingratiate himself, putting his hand on his chest and saying to him, "Because the positions have all been allocated in advance. I do not need to look at the new applications submitted today." At this time, Dicarno caught an important matter, then pretended to ask, as if there was something or not, "It is strange that you do not need to look through them. I remember in the notice, the deadline for submitting applications is today." The mayor had experienced many times of this type of superior coming to inspect, responding smoothly and easily. "Yes, the official acceptance time is indeed like that. But I want the people who are really sincere to get more positions." He even prepared his defense in advance. Suddenly, not understanding who made Dicarno's mood become gloomy, he satirized, "What is good about a city being managed by a brazen person like you?" The mayor froze in place, of course not wanting to understand the meaning of Dicarno's words just now. "Yes, what are you saying?" He was raising his hand to flip back and forth through the documents, putting forward some criticisms, in essence questioning and pointing out the mayor's crimes. The approved applications were all submitted very early, before the official acceptance date, and the people who got the positions were not lacking in anything, all belonging to the wealthy class. In the end, he concluded with a sentence that made the mayor speechless, his face turning green. "It seems you can't say the words that you received bribes, huh?" Speaking to this point, Dicarno remembered Eva's face carrying worry. Thanks to that good thing, the people who really need the position are. The mayor had indeed suffered a heavy psychological shock. The fluent words from before were no longer there either. Stammering to explain, "I apologize, Your Excellency. But I also have my own reasons." The next second, Dicarno's eyes became angry. He reached out and threw all those documents in the mayor's face. Both angry and threatening. "My mood right now is not good." Still wanting to create a little benefit for Eva, so he had to correct this matter. "It is useless to say those redundant words, so how will you take responsibility? You should seriously think about it, it would be better." At this time, the waves were very rough at sea. Calles, even going on a boat made him be hit by the waves and vomit several times, looking extremely miserable. Eva quickly came to support him, kindly asking, "Calles, are you okay?" Calles wiped his mouth while using a miserable green face to look at Eva, then painfully asked again for the nth time, "Miss, is this really the best way?" Eva was also sorry. Her voice lowered, "I apologize, Calles, you do not need to follow me either." Who knew that she only wanted to joke a little? Calles took it seriously and scolded her loudly. "How can I leave you alone in the middle of the night? That is a strange thing to say." Eva knew she had gone a bit too far, so she laughed it off. Calles calmed down, then thought, "I was very surprised when she suddenly left the house in the middle of the night." In short, he also had his own guesses, worrying that she would go to meet Dicarno, but unexpectedly the place she went was not the town hall, but the sailor's tavern. At this time, Calles's consciousness recovered, still turning to question Eva, "But why did you go on a boat so early in the morning?" Eva enthusiastically said her plans to the person she trusted. "I have to find a new location that no one has taken. Business at the port needs a permit from the government. But transactions between small sailboats do not need it." Calles was extremely shocked and also happy when he heard this information. Clearly he had gone to investigate but also did not know. "When did you know this?" Unexpectedly, Eva laughed happily, her gentle voice ringing out, "It is just common knowledge." At this time, Calles did not know what he saw, suddenly going to the side of the boat, then shouting loudly, "Miss." He looked out to sea, where there was a big ship approaching. "Isn't that Ernio's ship?" Eva was also delighted. "Ah, that is right." When she saw the people she wanted to meet, Calles had a bit of causeless worry. Really, the matter of asking them to buy these flowers. Eva lowered her eyes. In her voice there was a bit of indistinct difference. No. Her mood was very excited, so her voice also emphasized, "They will be the ones asking us to sell." I do not know where Eva took out a hair tie. She brought it up to tie her hair neatly. Every action was very decisive and beautiful. Calles came closer to her and asked about some things. "What is the meaning of carefully fixing your appearance before trading?" Eva simply replied to him, "For merchants, appearance is everything." She was combing her hair while saying the reason that a businessman does not need to read books to know. What hits their eyes first is not the goods, but the attitude of the other party. When talking to this point, the memories of her childhood suddenly appeared in her mind. The image of her father, Earl O'Hara, holding her in his arms, saying, "Evangeline, the higher you hold your head, the more they will look at you with admiration. Don't forget, You yourself are the most valuable asset. Leaving the memory, Eva put the comb on the table with a few makeup items. This is also one of my father's teachings. I want to engrave these teachings and stand firmly on the path to becoming a merchant. At this time, a stranger's voice suddenly rang out, carrying an unclear sense of caution. Who is blocking the road? Eva reacted very quickly. She stepped forward and replied, "Are you the people from Ernio? I was waiting for you." The merchant was also a little surprised by this answer. Waiting for us. He used a scrutinizing gaze to look up and down at Eva in front of him. From her sincere appearance and measured politeness, he made a guess. Could it be that she came to the sea because she wanted to trade with us? He turned to assess the boat that they came in. Small size and old appearance, it looks like a fishing boat. But like this, it was enough for him to give an answer. I must apologize to the person who has been waiting for us, but we have nothing to trade. We still have to go to Mare Port. Please get out of the way. Eva was eager to stop their ship. She said a little flusteredly, "Don't be so quick, please listen to me first." She raised her eyes to look at him, all carrying sincerity, and a bit of wisdom that a boat merchant originally has. Perhaps, my goods are what everyone needs. Having said that, she turned to call out loudly to Cayes, "Cayes, thanks to you." At this time Cayes was like waiting for an order. Hearing his name, he immediately stepped out with a bouquet of flowers in his hand. After Cayes put the flowers down, Eva spoke with satisfaction and confidence. "This is a bouquet of purple karnak, carrying the symbolic color of the Ernio state religion. As you can see, my flowers are high-end goods, still fresh and without any signs of wilting." Putting out the product, it really made the merchant surprised, and lingered to listen for a bit. The woman next to him, who was probably the merchant's wife, spoke at this time. "Hey, if it is karnak, is not it the flower we have been looking for?" But it seemed the merchant was still not very persuaded, or saying that he still had some mysteries. "It is indeed the flower we are looking for, but we will just conveniently look at it while buying other goods because it is not very necessary." Eva showed a gentle smile. Her voice, full of unpredictable meaning, rang out, "Is that so? But compared to those words, I see that you have prepared carefully to wait for the flowers. Is that more accurate?" I do not know when. She had looked at that big ship and observed it very carefully, but the water tank that you are carrying on the merchant ship, at first glance, seems to be empty, but in reality, at the bottom of the tank is a thin layer of water. Assuming if you wanted to buy all of them, you would have traded right on the ship, but you did not do that. The image of the merchant appeared. "I must apologize to the person who has been waiting for us, but we have nothing to trade." Eva's voice kept ringing in harmony with the sound of the waves, very realistically. "Moreover, are not you planning to hold a big event at Ernio? With what I know, did not you come to buy flowers?" The merchant was still hard-hearted, not wanting to lose to Eva. "Even so, these kinds of flowers, we can buy countless when we get to Mare Port." Eva happily responded, "I am afraid it will be difficult." After that, she gave a very bright smile, also a little innocent, "Because I have bought all the karnak flowers at Mare already." This time, it really hit the people on the merchant ship hard. Everyone's faces turned dark. What? But Eva was not the kind of person who liked to see others worried or angry. So she immediately continued, "Don't worry, this is the flower that will be offered to the temple, so I won't charge you too much." She raised 2 fingers, indicating the price of these beautiful flowers. "Each tank is 20 gold, I think that is reasonable." Unexpectedly, the group of people were shocked by this price, so they called out, "Hey, are you kidding? Karnak is a flower that grows on the beach, how can it be?" Eva slowly said the truth that made the people silent for a moment. "But it is also a flower that no longer exists on the island of Ernio. We can buy it somewhere else." Eva was not too affected by these psychological attacks. She still calmly acted like a real merchant, like her father, and continued to persuade them. "But karnak flowers bought elsewhere will all wilt on the way you return, because the freshness of the flowers can only be maintained for 5 days. I plan to buy all the karnak roots at Mare to make a flower garden. In the future I will exclusively grow karnak, but I promise to send you well cared for flowers that you can decorate immediately." In the end, she concluded, "How do you see it?" The merchant's expression was not good. After hearing it, he gritted his teeth. He turned and left, showing that he did not want to receive guests anymore. "Even so, we can't trade with you." The 2 sides fell into silence, with only the sound of the sea churning. Cayes was dazed, not knowing what to do, turned to whisper to Eva, "What do we do now, miss?" That merchant turned away, still carrying an indescribable resentment in his heart. "You people look down on us as people on the island, so you deliberately shout prices, thinking we would be easily fooled, huh?" At this time, Eva's voice rang out again. "It is a pity. I prepared this flower because of you from Ernio, but now I have to throw it all away." It is not known how these words made the person who originally wanted to leave turn back to look at them again. He could not restrain his voice, suddenly shouting very loudly, What are you doing? His voice carried anger to the extreme. Why throw away such a precious flower? Eva grasped the key point. She immediately gave her reasoning. Precious not to you. It is an ordinary flower not worth spending money to buy. Standing in front of the angry faces of the people on the other side, Eva still calmly continued. I only have 3 packs of Karnak flowers left, you decide. Her voice did not carry a threatening or happy meaning because she had pushed others to the edge. It was only gentle, melodious like the beautiful purple flower petals. Do you want the remaining intact flowers, or risk going to Mare and returning empty-handed? She stood radiantly in the sunlight, shining like a god in the back. I do not have too much time for you to consider. Time passed for a while, and by now the sky had already grown dark. Michael, standing next to Dicarno, anxiously and impatiently said to him, Your Excellency, now we have to return to Duca. He kept saying the words he had said several times just now. The early morning market has ended. If it rains again, it will be difficult for us to set off today. Who knew that Dicarno did not hear a single word, in the end only saying monotonously, It is raining. After that, he gave an order, Isn't Evangeline still at sea? Immediately contact that boat for me. Michael was still following him, rambling, wanting to persuade, Your Excellency, it is just a drizzle at most. Normally, storms at Mare only appear 1 or 2 times. Dicarno had always been a person who was not easy to get along with, so he threatened these words, Can you bear the responsibility? In his voice there was also an unfathomable danger. Are you sure there won't be a storm today? Sure enough, just saying 2 sentences like that had made Michael have to stop rambling, at the same time fearfully stammering that matter. Dicarno, who had been walking, suddenly stopped. From behind came the voice that he always hated. Caius's voice rang out, We are here, miss. From the boat, Caius was the one who went down first. After that, he turned back, reaching out to support Eva to come down together. Seeing her happily step down like this, it seemed that the transaction had been resolved smoothly. Eva happily did not want to take all the credit alone. It is all thanks to you, Caius, really thank you. Caius remembered the matter from before. His heart was still beating loudly. I was very surprised when Miss told me to throw all the flowers into the sea. He turned to put a hood on for Eva, also saying, Actually, I was quite nervous at that time. This action in Dicarno's eyes was a lightning bolt in the clear sky, making his eyes hurt extremely. He hurriedly walked towards them, ignoring Michael wanting to stop him. It is raining, you put this on first. Finally, Eva realized that Dicarno was here. She unconsciously called out, Duke. In the next second, her eyes widened a bit in surprise. An umbrella was brought to her side. The Duke was sheltering her from the rain with his umbrella, Dicarno. After that, he put it in Eva's hand, You take it. Eva stepped back, deliberately not wanting to accept it, No. But Dicarno had taken a step faster, stepping back away from her by about 1 meter. After that, asking with some loss, Is a distance of this size okay? After saying that, he pursed his lips a little. Then again he came closer, reaching out to take off her hood. Take this off. His movements were very smooth, then hurriedly turning to leave. Eva was a little flustered. She wanted to call the person back, Dicarno. But only his back was left. Dicarno had gone far away. At this time, Caius came back to his senses, walking closer to Eva, then unhappily staring and scolding Dicarno. Is there someone like that always? Eva did not know how to explain, so she quickly said, I apologize to you on his behalf. Caius was scared and wanted to faint on the spot, quickly refusing, I do not deserve to receive an apology from Miss, so do not bother yourself. Normally Eva would always laugh after these words of his, but now she lowered her head, her appearance dejected. Caius did not say anything more, only stood there quietly looking at her. After a while, Eva spoke, For now, let us go home. Before long, they had returned home. Suddenly, Caius's voice, full of joy and happiness, rang out, Miss, I can't believe it. Eva was startled by the sound of Caius slapping the table. What is wrong? What is the matter? Who knew that he was overly excited, waving his hands and feet while expressing to her, I earned this much money in just one transaction. The profit is 20 times the capital, huh? Eva smiled and breathed out, Oh, is that so? The amount of money is not bad. Caius cunningly caught her. You say it as if that was obvious. Eva reached for a chest, then turned to say to him, Ah, that is right, this is Caius's share. Caius was a bit surprised and asked blankly, Yes. He immediately realized Eva's intention, so he hurriedly and hastily refused flatly. I did not help you much, miss. Eva was very happy, seeing this as a reward worthy of him. Don't say that. When I had nothing, Caius and wet nurse still took me in. If you feel pressured, then consider this as rent from before until now. Caius keenly realized the problem in Eva's words. Rent? Will you be leaving here now, miss? Eva did not want to hide it from him. She nodded happily. Yeah, now I am going to buy land. Kayes did not quite understand her words. Land. Eva did not mind explaining for him to understand. Yeah, my father said if you are a merchant, you need to have a fixed place of business. She reached out to touch the coins that she had made, her voice not hiding the happy vitality. Now I have some capital to spare, so I am planning to choose a place here to start a business. Once I have decided to exclusively trade with Ernio, I need to manage my business more systematically. And I can't just depend on flowers, I have to plant other kinds of plants. Also, suddenly she said to this point then stopped. Kayes was still attentively looking at her without taking his eyes off her. This made Eva a little embarrassed, now raising her hands to cup her cheeks and pretending to ask playfully. Oh, is there something on my face? Why are you staring like that? Kayes happily smiled. It is nothing. After a moment, Kayes also said the words he had been thinking in his heart. It is just that now I see that you are smiling more naturally because the first time I met you, you were no different from an emotionless doll. Kayes, like the morning sun, had shone on Eva during the darkest times. Now, it was still shining on her. Everywhere all the time warm, not cold. Keep smiling and living happily like this. Do not be gloomy like before anymore. Eva had never felt as satisfied as now. Her eyes shone brightly. Even the starlight could not compare, giving a promise to Kayes. Yeah, I will. Eva suddenly heard a sound. Ah, it seems wet nurse is back. Kayes ran to the door and called Mom. Eva noticed the animal in the arms of the person standing next to the wet nurse, so she did not mind asking, Auntie, what is with that puppy? Her aunt put the puppy in the wet nurse's arms. After that she went to Kayes to explain this matter a little bit. The dogs at my house had puppies a few days ago, seeing that she also liked it, so I brought it over. Eva sat on the chair looking at the puppy in the wet nurse's hand, and could not help but feel, it is so cute. Kayes went over to look at her, then looked at the puppy, in the end asking, if you like it, miss, do you want to raise one? Unexpectedly, what responded to him was Eva's refusal, along with a voice full of self-doubt. No, I am not qualified. As she spoke, the image of the snow-white dog Rex from before faintly appeared in her mind. A few days later, Roker's capital, the Emperor's office. Wait, that is why. Aiden von Varish sat on the throne, his face carrying curiosity, asking DeCarno, you dismissed the mayors of 4 cities. But if you suddenly fire all the mayors, what will happen to that city? DeCarno, standing below, respectfully bowed, while replying, they are all corrupt, I can't let it go like this. The two sides were one staring, one turning a blind eye to the matter. The atmosphere was always stifling and uncomfortable. In Aiden's eyes there was also a condemning look for DeCarno going too far. After a while, Aiden spoke first. Duke, you are not someone who acts without a cause. You had a plan from the time I suggested that Mr. Andes personally go to survey the West, right? DeCarno now raised his head. Yes. The Emperor sighed, reaching out to rub his forehead. All right, the detailed content, I will check it through the report. You have worked hard. DeCarno again bowed and saluted. Yes, then I ask for permission to leave first. But as soon as he was not far away, the Emperor suddenly called him back. Wait, but DeCarno had gone far. The Emperor happily suddenly called someone to come. I do not see even a bit of sincerity, the other person spoke. Presumably he is tired, so that is why. I heard that while inspecting the city, he did not rest even for a second. On the last day leaving Mayor, that day he stayed up all night at the port. Aiden spoke and replied, I know that is a troublesome job, so I was planning to send Mr. Andes to go in his place. No, even so there is no need to supervise the seaport. It was late at night. DeCarno returned to his palace. How silent. He stood below looking at the electric tower that he had stayed in for so long, a loneliness I have never felt when Evangeline was by my side. Sure enough, this place needs her. But Eva's words from that time were still lingering around his ears. Yes, I like it, more than the house I used to live in with you. In the end, she has no intention of returning to be my duchess. What should I do? At this time, a sound rang out, attracting his attention. DeCarno turned around, seeing his snow dog in the house calling him. Its claws scratched the glass surface, creating a creaking sound. It kept barking, wanting to call him in. DeCarno looked at it as if he saw a treasure. Rex. At this time, he remembered the image of Eva playing with Rex. That is right. If it is you, Evangeline,